This will be a good thing to do this morning too, because my first sign that YouTube was fucky yesterday was the up down up down up down of live streaming, because it was acting like we were up on Starlink still. Yeah. It really was. But and I tested our shit, and our shit was buttery smooth and consistent. So had to be something. Always is though. Second, Phoebes. Phoebes, you never get first. Hardly ever. I think 2 times in the history of history, Phoebes has gotten first. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. Gluten, gluten. Think the onion nuggets will work today? I'm pretty sure it will, but I was just talking to Amelia right before I started this. It's like, this will be a good bellwether, because yesterday the first sign that there was trouble in paradise was this stream. Like, this stream was like laggy, it was up and down. I kept having to like restart it. It was fucky. Today it seems to be more stable. You gotta check out yesterday's episode of DP. I trolled the manatee so fucking hard. Oh yeah? I'll check it out. I shall check it. Send me timestamps or something, man. Oh, fuck. Plug walk. Why do I have one of the worst rap songs in the last 10 years stuck in my head? Plug Walk is not a good rap song. The beat goes crazy, but Rich the Kid is not what I'd call like the best rapper ever. Pull up in a space coupe.
I should probably get some coffee going first, huh?
What was that?
Probably get some coffee going first, huh?
I guess you could. Thank you, baby. Big old Bentley, she's a spaceship. Call me on the phone, I don't say shit. I make money when I talk. Bitch, I'm a boss, take a loss. Top 5 rappers, let's go. In no particular order. Top 5, here we go. I'm gonna throw some modern in too, but we're gonna start with old because I'm old. So we're gonna go MC Ricky D. That's top. We put him he's the ruler. MC Ricky D, aka Slick Rick. That's number 1. Who else are we gonna say? Who else are we gonna say? Dude, I actually did this one time. Let me just give you my shit, because I actually did this one time. I'm just gonna cheat. I'm gonna go to my Twitter, because I actually did one of these once. I'll give you what I gave on Twitter, because I hate doing like top 5 lists, because I always forget to put people on it. But I sat down and I thought about this one. Let me just find it real quick. Plug walk. I don't even understand how the fuck my plug talk. Pick him up in a space coupe. I don't let the plug walk. Nope, nope. This is it. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. This is after I sat down and I compiled this shit. And this is more than 5. But I'm going to give you all my whole list. Okay? So, Ruler Rick, aka Slick Rick. Dana Dane. Okay? Another old school rapper. Run DMC. Ice Cube. Tupac. Biggie. Method Man. MF Doom. Cypress Hill. Redman. And ODB. Those are the top rappers of all time, according to Paul Zigo. So I'll give you again. Slick Rick, Dana Dane, Run DMC, Cube, Pac, Biggie, Meth, MF Doom, Cypress Hill, The Real Redman, and ODB. Most of those people were before your time. Yeah. This doesn't have a whole lot of modern on it, but those are my all-time greats, so we'll just leave it there. Half of which I don't even recognize. Damn. That's a shame. Parental. What's going on, friendo? Plug what? Doom is my personal favorite. Yeah, Doom was great. All right. I'll check it out a little later. Pick him up in a space coupe. I don't let the plug walk. How does one cure boredom working a desk job? Onion nuggets. Onion nuggets. I got to ask Brett about jerking off in front of Xavier's room. Oh shit, bro. Yeah, this day is gonna feel like 2 weeks. But guess what, bro? When it's over, vacation time. Are you guys going somewhere for vacation? Or are you doing a staycation? If I know you and the fam, bro, Pranav's probably traveling somewhere. Yup. That shit's great, bro. I make money when I talk. Bitch, I'm a boss, take a loss. Manatee has your name in your mouth. Just you told him he shouldn't. Expect Ben to invite you on to tear down the Manatee versus Paul soon. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, not the matinee, dude. He doesn't know. This motherfucker, dude, I'm his worst nightmare. It's the goddamn truth. And he can't keep my name out of his mouth. Bro. Turn your goddamn microphone off. That's my favorite fucking Brett meltdown. Hey, you dumb moron. Turn your damn microphone off. When I talk, I don't say shit. Dude, he was screaming over me, calling me a loser. You're a fucking loser. You're a dirty ass loser. Turn your microphone off, you piece of shit. Big old Bentley, she's a space coupe. Wasn't the Pee Wee Herman actor Paul Rubens busted jerking in a theater? Yes. Unfortunately, he was busted for doing something that everybody does in the porn theater. He was busted for jerking off the porn. It was bullshit. It was a targeted thing. Opinion on Pimp Monk's death sucks. Rip Monk. Did Brett constantly has TJ's name in his mouth? Oh my God, he's obsessed, yeah. Turn your goddamn microphone off. Yes, it did ruin his career. Not completely. He got work towards the end of his life, and good work too. But yeah, he never really fully bounced back from that. Man, I love some old school DP energy. I didn't get to fight with Brett directly long before one of his little finger puppets stepped in for him. Oh, well, you know how it is. Turd, your microphone, Orf. What it do? You know how it is. Wo bu shi huan pao bu. Working on all cinder blocks. Yeah, the mundane mat exposure was great, man. That was fun shit. Plug walk. I don't even understand how the fuck my plug talk. I know some Chinese, yeah. Ni hao ma. Ni hao ma. Wo shi huan le cafe. Le cafe. Le cafe. Wo shi huan le cafe. How's my day? So far, so good. It really hasn't even started. But it's kind of started, I guess. You hear about the headphones that translate in real time? It's happening, bro. The universal translator. Found it very difficult to find a language app that teaches Tagalog. I wish Duo had it. Yeah, I don't know why Duo doesn't. I am Chinese. 我是中国人。我是中国人。我是美国人。我是加拿大人。我是 what was Australia? I can't remember. Megworen. Star Trek and Game of Thrones language, no Tagalog though. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Plug walk. How old am I? 45. 45 years old. I was born in 1980. April Fool's Day, 1980, to be specific. I don't even know one Chinese word. Say ni hao. Ni space H-A-O. That means hello. Say ni hao. Chinese pronunciation is pretty standard. Yeah. My pronunciation is actually awful. Chinese is a tonal language, so it's all about pronunciation, and mine is ass. You look like a cool ass dad. Han bao bao. Yeah. How'd you get that many subs? I'm just a fucking goddamn boss player. A boss player never lost hair over assholes. Blast holes in you motherfucking dag holes. Like a bullfrog, nigga. I said the N-word. Damn it. Shit happens. Say ice cream. Bing chillin'. Banned and canceled. Banceled. Saying it when you rap is fine. I don't think YouTube I don't think YouTube agrees. Caught in 4K, bro. Plug walk. If you were filthy rich, Paul, and you had kids, would you give them wealth and risk for them being spoiled? Yeah. Yeah. If I was rich, my kids would be rich. I don't have any kids, though. Are you Christian? No, sir. I'm a Taoist. He misses the 90s. No, I don't miss them, but they were kind of cool. Oh, man, I can't say good morning, Chaya. Now I have a fucking ice cream. I can't say it yet. I haven't learned that much yet. Zhongguo Meguo. Xianada. Yidali. What's fucking Great Britain again? Zhongguo Meguo. Xianada. Yidali. Oh. What is British again? Chinese guy? Can you do the pinyin for British? Yidali. Yeah. Yidali Ren. Yidali. Jianada. I bet you know what that one is too. That's kind of the cool. Yingguo. Yeah. Yingguo Ren. Yingguo. Zhongguo. Yeah. Thank you. Yingguo Zhongguo. Got it. Yingguo Zhongguo Meiguo. Yin Ye Ke. What exactly is Confucianism? It's a philosophical religious practice. But I don't know much about it, to be honest with you. Would you give us a tour of your house? Nah. The people that see my house, the inside of it, are people that know me. You can see my yard if you want. I'll show you that. I'll give you a quick little scan of my backyard, because I don't mind doing that. But here's where Paul's egos stay. But yeah, inside of my home is for me and for my friends and family. A Sprite shirt. Yeah. It's a Sprite shirt. Speaking of peaceful, look at this. Look at this. Look at Peepaw D from the Salty Sea. Peepaw D, having a little rest on the porch is he. Peepaw D from the Salty Sea. What is he up to? Where do we be? Plug what? I don't even understand how the fuck my plug talk. Coffee. 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 What do you like at parties, Paul? Do you act differently when drinking booze? You guys have seen me drunk, right? I just get slurry and lovey-dovey when I get drunk. Yeah, I get very slurry and lovey-dovey when I'm drunk. And a little bit like, I don't know what you'd call it, irascible. Irate, but not mad and angry and mean. Just kind of like, you know.
I'd be a little more easily offended.
Yeah, I'm more easily offended for sure.
There's a little nut hatchy. And the skinny tree. The hooks in it.
Oh, yeah?
Or is that something else?
It might be something else. I don't know what he is.
He looks a little skinnier than Nuthatch.
He do.
He's pecking a little louder.
I think he is a nuthatch, though. That gotta be, yeah, that's a nuthatch. He's just not quite as a meatball as the rest of them are. Some people become monsters when blackout drunk. Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like it's not like someone turns into a different person because of a drug. I think it's who they are inside.
It's in them. Yeah. It's this in vino veritas. Yeah.
Because it lowers your inhibitions. It doesn't turn you into a different person.
Yep. That's the hardest thing, I think, for alcoholics to confront, is that it's them. It's not some monster that they turn into. It's not the alcohol forcing them to do that. It's something that's inside of them that's coming out due to their inhibitions being lowered. And that's a tough thing to admit when you do horrible things when you're drunk. I've got a paper cut on my fingertip. Now half the finger is irritated. That's the way it works. Paper cuts are the fucking worst thing. I don't even want to talk about them. I have a hang up about them. Signed a deal. I got paper cuts. They wanted them, but they got us. Well,
this kind of shows you the thin veneer of civilization too.
Oh yeah. It's Jung.
Yeah.
It's the shadow. Everybody's got a face that they show the world, and everybody's got a shadow face. Something inside of them that isn't like the face that they show. A dark face. And when you start to understand Jungian psychology, you understand what Amelia just said, that there is a thin veneer of civility that keeps us from butchering one another. And it does not take much to remove that veneer. Ooh. I was 15 and got very drunk, and I would start telling people I'm not like my dad. Yeah.
Oh, that's a little bit of Freud too, right?
Yep. Yep. Little bit of iceberg theory of the mind. I like the iceberg theory of the mind. The fact that the iceberg that we see on the surface is just the exterior of a deep well of psychological complexity. And it turns out that that's true. If not all the things that Freud posited were true, that is true. Freud's iceberg theory of the mind is a working model for the human mind and psychology.
Like, you sit anyone down for therapy, whether they have like outward issues or not, they probably have some shit that they want to get off their chest.
Everybody does. So one of the things you learn in psychology is that human beings want to be validated. Validation means I went through something, somebody else heard it and empathizes or understands with it. Human beings need that because we're social animals. So it's like the same thing as chimps grooming one another, or sitting near one another and snuggling even though they're not partners, right? It reminds us that we are part of a greater whole as a species rather than just a man apart. And yeah.
It's like how people get vulnerable to cults that use psychology.
Yeah.
Because people have that need.
Mm-hmm. We talk about it a lot here, but social engineering is based on psychological precepts. And it's like, when you're looking at a man, he has a complex relationship with his father. Whether the father was gone or mean or disapproving or whatever it was, there's
or
always
maybe
something.
Just some subtle pressure
Yeah.
of doing better or whatever.
Yeah. There's always something between a man and his father. Always. There's always something between a woman and her father. The mother is a different kind of psychological precept. Mm-hmm. A father is, it's like a keystone in psychology.
Do you think that's what bugged you about that couple, maybe? Not necessarily how their
Oh, you're talking about the couple?
Was dressed, but maybe that he didn't have like
a
traditional father figure.
I didn't see dad.
Yeah.
Maybe so. I was like, who is dad here? Yeah. Who is the man that's providing a male influence here? I don't know if that's necessary. I guess it is, according to the psychology that I've learned. It's absolutely necessary. But according to modern,
it's also a source of pain too.
Well, it is, but it's necessary pain. How you individuate is you compare yourself to your parents until you don't. And so, I don't know. See, that's a good point, because it's kind of like, maybe that is the problem that I had. Maybe I'm looking at those kids and going like, where's dad? Where's the influences that a little kid's brain is looking to drink up? And maybe I didn't see it. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not saying it's necessarily a good thing to assume that, but
no, I'm working through the assumption. Yeah. I think that couple bothered you because they aren't something that is natural to you. They're breaking societal rules that are deeply ingrained in you far more than you think. Not just in me. These societal rules that we're talking about go back to our pre-human ancestors. One, like a man and a woman, a mother and a father, that is as old as human beings and older. So we're not talking about necessarily like my perception of it more than we're talking about everybody's perception of it. Not everybody's going to see that and react the same way as me, but there is something. It's not like motherhood and fatherhood is not a social construct like gender might be, right? Gender may very well be an entirely social construct, but motherhood and fatherhood is ubiquitous. And I don't understand how that, I guess it's when I saw that little boy in a dress, it was like, this is due to lack of a masculine role model. Little boys typically don't want to wear dresses. Little boys typically want to dress like other little boys. The question becomes, is that due to an outdated societal construct, or is that just base human psychology? Little boy looks to dad. Little girl looks to mom. You know what I mean? And when I see little boy looking to dad and seeing dad is wearing a dress, so I want to wear a dress too. I want to question my gender because I want to be like dad. To me, it's odd. It's odd. I don't know that it's wrong. I don't know that my reaction is justified, but to me, it is odd. I don't know how I don't know how you could make the argument that child is going to have a normal psychological upbringing. That's all. You know, it's really none of my business ultimately, but the perspective, I think that is like the surface level of what bothered me is what is the psychological dynamic in this family? What is going to be the outcropping of this? What is going to be the end result of this gender exploration for this child? Is this child going to end up just absolutely confused? Is this child going to end up resenting his parents? Is this child going to end up following in the footsteps of his father and becoming gender fluid? How much social pushback is this child going to receive at a tender age when, that sort of thing hurts worse than it ever will in your life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Like when you're a kid and somebody calls you a faggot, that is like, holy shit. It hurts so bad when you're a kid. When you're an adult, it's kind of whatever. You know what I mean? You learn to let that fucking shit roll off your back. But like this kid was, by my reckoning, 8, 9, something like that, maybe less. He's 7. Little boy in a dress. And it's like, okay. Maybe it's fine. Maybe I'm just overreacting. Maybe there's nothing going on there that, society should be concerned about when it comes to children. Maybe not. Like, I'm not trying to make that family an avatar for what I think is wrong with the world. It's just like, I'm very rarely am I confronted with it that starkly. Mm-hmm. Like, here's a gender non-conforming family, and they've got little kids, and they're also gender non-conforming. And it's like, did dad put that dress idea in the kid's head? Did the kid just do it because they saw dad wearing a dress? Those are the questions I have. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's a little bit of a double standard because you don't have that same visceral reaction to girls wearing pants, but back in the day, people would.
True. Yeah, that's very true. So it's definitely not just gender. It's not just like gender. It's like social norms, basically. A violation of social norms.
Like we're watching that 1883, and it was a big fucking deal that Elsa put on some pants.
True. And they forced her to put on a dress so that she could, pass when they got to the fort or whatever. Many kids don't have a cross-dressing phase. Yeah, well, I didn't, but, once again, the reinforcement was heavily against me having any kind of gender exploration. Well, me putting on a dress would have been punished. Like, physically punished, not just like, you know what I mean? So, that, that goes into it as well, but
it's hard. It's like, is that social norm worth upholding?
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't like my parents were up my ass at that age going like, you're a little boy and you will dress like a little boy. I didn't even have the impulse. I didn't even have the impulse to dress like my little sister did, or to wear her clothes, or to want to look like a little girl. Never even occurred to me. And I'm wondering if somebody had introduced me to it, if it would have. And what's the fucking deal there? You know what I mean? Like, how much of how I felt was unspoken societal pressure, and how much of it was just I was a little boy. A little boy wants to do little boy things. Not always, but on the whole, right? Say it's way easier for girls to cross-dress than it is for boys. It's more socially acceptable, but I don't know about easier. My older sister used to make me cross-dress when I was a little kid. Make you? See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you got to understand, man, when you are the age of the little boy that I saw, which we're going to guess he's 8. That is like, you are a fucking sponge at that age. You are just absorbing everything around you that you see. And what do you see more than anything else? You see mom, you see dad, right? And so it's like, now we're starting to get into the weeds. We're starting to get into the thick of it, right? So is this child's life going to be better because dad lets him wear a dress or not? If not, if this child's life is going to be harder because dad encourages dress wearing, then where's the conversation go from there? You know what I mean? It's like, if my dad had put on a big frilly dress and pranced around the house, I would have done it too. It might not have been what I would have done left to my own devices, or what I should have done, or what. But if my dad put on a dress and ran around town in it, I would have wanted to too. If my dad dressed up like a clown every day, I probably would have wanted to too. You see what I mean? Paul, you were raised under patriarchal social norms. These people broke the idea that you have, even though you aren't against the life or their lifestyle. It's still unnatural to you. You're probably right about that. I mean, I fully admit that, like, as supportive as I am of people being whatever they are, I don't understand it. I do not have a personal understanding of gender fluidity, right? It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just my perspective on it is I don't understand it, right? I don't understand, because this was a dude, like, maybe he's not even, maybe, like, that's the thing, is like, maybe he doesn't go by dude, so I'm not trying to misgender, but like this, the dad in this family was like a 600-pound man in a dress, right? And it's like, for me, I don't know that that's the father figure that that little kid needs. A 600-pound man in a dress. I don't think that's going to help that little boy down the road
But
at
is
all.
that better than no father?
Well, yeah, probably, psychologically speaking, it's better than no father. But the question becomes, are these conservatives right? When they see these people, gender fluid, gender non-binary people, 600-pound man in a dress, raising children, are they right to be concerned about the psychological upbringing of those children? That's the question. That's the question I have, not just to Amelia, but to you, to everybody, right? I'm not a conservative guy, and I would never step in front of somebody and tell them you can't wear a dress. But the question remains, is that little boy better off or worse off because dad is a 600-pound man in a dress and not a man traditionally? I don't know the answer to the question, but I think I have some ideas. I think the kid's going to be worse off. I think the kid is going to get shamed at school. I think they're going to have a horrible upbringing when it comes to their social life because they're wearing a dress. I think that when their dad comes to pick them up and he waddles out of his car in a dress, I think that child is going to get shit for it every fucking second of every day. And I don't know at the other end of it that we have a kid that's better off.
Well, here's a contrast to that.
Okay.
Where do you think a boy wearing a dress without that influence comes from? Because that does happen.
It does happen. No, it does happen. And I'm guessing that, like, well, from what I understand, I believe, and I think that this is true, I believe that some people are born trans. I do. I believe that some people are born with male genitalia but female wiring, right? Or female genitalia but male wiring. Maybe that's what was going on with that little boy. But I would find that to be really fucking convenient. That a little boy that was born to a 600-pound man in a dress is also trans, when less than 1% of people in the world are trans.
But it is a double standard.
I guess, but see, this is why I'm not trying to fucking make this a big deal, because it really doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, there are bigger problems in the world, but it's interesting to me. Why is it when two girls hold hands, it's seen as friendly, but when two boys do it, it's gay? Well, you know, I mean, there are societal pressures, right? There are negative societal images that are reinforced. And maybe I'm doing that right now. by wringing my hands about a little boy in a dress, but it's just I have empathy and I understand psychology. I know that little boy at 8 years old is a sponge. If their dad told him to take that dress off and run naked around the fucking room, they'd do it.
But they're, again, little trans kids that do that, even if their parents fucking
Right,
berate
but
them
in this
for it.
instance, do you think, statistically speaking, that a trans dad had a trans kid and there was no influence there? That kid was just born trans to a trans parent, because that's a 1% of a 1% of a 1% possibility. It gets way harder for me to justify a trans person having a trans kid than it is for me to justify a trans person's existence. When you're a trans person and you have a trans kid, that kid I don't know how I'm supposed to look at that and go like, oh, that kid was trans too. When I know the statistics, I know the mathematical improbability of a trans person having a trans person.
But we also don't know if those statistics are accurate or if it's still societal pressures.
They're as accurate as we can get. As accurate as we can get at this point in time. About 1/10 of 1%, or it's a little less than 1% of people in the world are trans. They're gender nonconforming people. I do not believe for a second that 600-pound gender nonconforming person magically won the lottery and had himself a trans son. So the question becomes, is it a good thing or a bad thing for dad to be a role model that shows the son how to dress in a dress?
Look at how the statistics of gay people has evolved over time. They probably thought they were.
Let's say it's 2%. Let's say it's way under. Let's say we're way underrepresenting, and it's 2. That would be a massive leap in what we understand today about transsexuality. So let's say it's 2% of people. That's still winning the lotto for a trans dad to have a trans son. So it's influence. That's my point. It's influence from dad that caused a little boy to put a dress on, before that little boy could even really understand gender complexity.
But at the same time, you still have that double standard of if a boy wore a dress when their dad wasn't wearing a dress, that's just as unlikely.
Well, it's not, because we're talking about trans people are born to straight people. Trans people are born to cis people, right? All the time. It's like gay people are born. Like you could have the straightest fucking parents in the world. You're gay as shit, right? That I believe is wired. I believe that sexuality is hardwired to a certain degree, but it's also impinged upon by what you see, right? So it's a combination of nature and nurture. What I'm asking is, what combination of nature and nurture led that little boy to prance around in a dress? Was it because he wanted to? Because he naturally was born more effeminate? Or was it because dad is a 600-pound bearded lady? I don't know, but it starts to, like, I start to have a hard time arguing, because I understand where the conservative shit comes from. They just hate gay people. They hate queerness. But should the question be asked, what is that child, how's that child's life going to be versus if he had a more traditional upbringing?
But I'm saying that a trans kid would have that same difficulty and more difficulty without support.
Without support? What do you mean?
Like, if they're born to straight cis parents and they start dressing like a boy and dad's like, no, you can't do that, or dressing like a girl and they're like, no, you can't do that, isn't that more harmful than a assigned male kid wearing a dress in a household that's not supportive?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. Transsexuality is so rare. And it's so specific. I don't know. What I do know is, if you were to put that 600-pound man in a big dog t-shirt and a pair of fucking 9X shorts, that kid wouldn't have been wearing a dress. That's all I know. I know that for a fucking fact. If dad wasn't a bearded lady, kid wouldn't be wearing a dress. I just know it. I think everybody kind of knows it. And that's bothersome to me because I know that kid is going to get fucked on his whole life because of it.
But again, a little trans girl would get fucked on the same way.
Right, but they would be getting fucked on in pursuit of who they really are, not because I'm acting like my bearded lady dad. That getting fucked on for who you are builds character. Getting fucked on because you're emulating somebody just fucks you up. That kid is not in a dress because he decided he wanted to wear a dress. That kid is in a dress because dad is a 600-pound bearded woman. And that kid is not going to do as well in school, not going to do as well socially, because their parents have decided, let's let our little boy prance around in a dress just like dad. Well, that's fine. Good for the little boy, I guess. But is it worth all of the bullshit that little kid is going to get? For you to let an 8-year-old who doesn't even understand sexuality and gender yet wear a fucking dress?
You also think that trans people are born trans and that an 8-year-old can understand it.
Absolutely. And maybe I'm just fucking... Maybe we were sitting right across from double Powerball winners. Maybe we were. Maybe trans dad had a trans kid. You understand the astronomical improbability of that, right?
But I think you would have a very different reaction. Like, it's not so much more improbable than a kid being trans.
You don't think so? You don't think it's improbable for a trans parent to have a trans kid?
I mean, it's as improbable as a kid being trans, I think.
Well, yeah, but you understand the question then, right? The question is, if we're presuming that the kid isn't trans, because I think we kind of have to statistically. If dad is trans, the kid is probably not trans. Like, if I'm right about transsexuality and it's not a choice, it's a wiring, it's a brain wiring thing, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe transsexuality is a choice.
But why would that wiring not be in play even if the parent is wearing a dress? Like, if the majority have the wiring of being born a boy and feeling like a boy,
right,
why would that inherently mean...
Because what it means to be a boy is defined by who you see.
But, I mean, that boy isn't only seeing his parents.
But he's seeing his parents 1,000 times more than he sees anybody else. Your parents are the first thing you look to. This is how I'm supposed to be. When dad is a bearded lady, son wants to be a bearded lady. Is son's life going to be better off because he emulated a bearded lady? I don't think so. I don't think it is.
But I'm just saying that there's not as big of a difference as you think there is between a trans girl and a potentially trans girl to a trans woman.
I don't know. I think it just gets hard for me to get past, because I feel like we're not getting past the point. We're not getting past the point, right? Like, I feel like I cannot get past. It is statistically improbable that trans man popped out a trans kid. It would be like 1% of 1% of 1%, right? So what I'm seeing then is not nature, it's nurture. Oh, Billy, put on a dress. It'll look cute. You'll be just like dad or mom. Put on a dress. Put on a dress, Billy. Oh, here, let's get you a little dress, Billy. Ooh, you look so pretty, Billy.
It sounds like we're at an impasse, because
yeah, maybe so. But I just can't get past that. It's like, I feel like in the name of tolerance, we're saying that that's a good thing. It's not. It's not going to be a good thing for that child to wear a dress.
But it is equally as hard as a trans girl.
Right, but he's not trans.
You don't know.
I don't know that for an absolute fact, but I know statistics. I know that trans people are incredibly fucking rare. Incredibly rare.
The statistics don't compound like that.
No, they do. They do. It is way more statistically improbable that a trans person be born to a trans person than it is a cis person. There are just way more cis people. Trans people are 1%.
I'm just saying, I don't know that compounds on how likely the kid themselves is.
Well, shouldn't it? Wouldn't it be way less likely that a trans person has a biologically trans kid than a cis person, just due to the amount of cis people breeding versus trans people, right? You get it?
I'm just saying that like we don't know. Like if it is a purely nature thing, then it doesn't matter.
Well, that's what I presume. I presume transness is nature.
Yeah.
I
So
presume that
why would
it's
the nature change just because the parent is trans?
that's my question. I don't think the nature did change. I don't think that little boy's trans. I think that little boy is dressing in a dress because dad did it. Maybe mom and dad told him to. That's what I think.
But you don't know.
Right, but I don't know. But if we followed that kid, right? What do you think statistically is true? If we were to follow that kid from a scientific standpoint, do you think statistically speaking that child is trans or cis?
I'm just saying there's no necessarily functional difference. We don't know. We're looking at the surface level. We can't be in that kid's head.
It's true, but I just feel like we have to be able to make reasonable inferences. We have to. Otherwise we can't describe the world. We literally have to be able to make inferences. And all we have with those inferences is statistical data. How many people out of 1,000 are trans? Right?
Well, let's do a metaphor. Let's say dad has long hair in a braid and son has long hair in a braid. You
Mhm.
wouldn't be freaking out the same way, even though our society says long hair is more traditionally feminine than masculine.
Not, I mean, not anymore, right? Those gender norms have been
But
kind of
I'm just saying, like
obliterated.
50 years ago,
Sure.
you would be having the same visceral reaction, or you would have the same visceral reaction if mom was a cowboy and daughter was a cowboy.
Okay, let me put it this way. I'm a cis guy, and I present masculine, and I'm comfortable with that way.
Well, look at history. Like, they used to regularly dress the little boys
In dresses, I get it, but they weren't raised as little girls.
But we don't know that that little boy is being raised as a little girl, or just a little boy that wears dresses.
It's too much for an 8-year-old, baby. An 8-year-old isn't supposed to be wondering if they're trans.
But we don't know if they're even wondering, or if they're just saying, I feel more comfortable in dresses, not necessarily because I'm a woman.
We know that they're wearing a dress because dad is wearing a dress.
Okay,
we
we're,
know
we're,
that.
We're not going to agree on this, apparently.
Yeah, maybe not. You don't know what they are wondering if they're trans, but I do know statistically speaking they're not. If I had to take a bet on whether that child is trans or just wearing a dress because they saw their dad, what bet would you take? If you had to take a bet and it's your whole life savings, you got to lay it down right now. That kid is trans, that kid is cis. Which one are you betting on? I know which one I'm betting on because I know statistically what's going on, right? I know that it is way less likely that that kid is trans than cis. So what would you bet, right? And that's what I'm talking about. We have to make inferences. You can't be in anybody's head, let alone the little boy's head, right? But we have to make inferences about things, right? And I'm trying to like give you what the inferences that I make when I see a little boy with a dad in a dress wearing a dress. The inference is that little boy would not be in a dress, wouldn't be questioning his gender if dad didn't. And the question becomes, is that a positive or a negative in a child's upbringing to be encouraged to gender nonconform?
Would you have the same reaction if mom shaved her head and daughter shaved her head?
No. I don't think...
That's what I'm saying.
But it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. There are women all over the world that are bald. Yeah. Baldness is not a traditionally just a male thing. Mm-hmm. Baldness exists in the female...
It is...
Not anymore. Bald women are... Women with short cropped hair, bald, that's everywhere now. It's everywhere. I don't... And it's always been everywhere. Baldness in women was...
But it hasn't always been everywhere.
Yeah, it has.
The female norms have changed.
Well, so have male norms, but
Yeah.
ultimately the role remains the same. Father, mother.
But you see, at the beginning of that role change, the same situation would be happening, where it would be incredibly rare for a girl to wear pants and her mom to wear pants.
It wasn't about that though. It's not about it's I get it. I get that a girl wearing pants 100 years ago would be seen with the same kind of disdain. But I'm not talking about the girl choosing to wear pants. I'm talking about the
But
girl wearing pants because her mom told her to, or because she sees mom wearing pants.
yeah, but you don't have that same problem with a girl wearing pants as you do with a boy in a dress.
That's yeah. That's maybe you're right. Maybe you're correct. Maybe you're correct about that. But if that was a little girl dressed all mask, I'd be having the same conversation with you.
But what is a girl dressing masculine now? Women and girls wear pants all the time, and we don't assume a girl is a trans boy if she wears pants.
I guess you're fucking right. I guess you're fucking right. I hate that you're fucking right, but you're fucking right. You're fucking no, we're not gonna disagree because you're fucking right. God damn you for being right. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. It's still I still think that there's something that needs discussing there. Because I still think that there needs to be some allotment for that child's upbringing. And that child is going to have a fucking rough go of it because dad wears a dress. And because dad lets him wear a dress. That's just the fucking truth. That kid is going to have a horrible childhood. They're going to be fucked on every day at school. Every time dad waddles out of that car, they're going to get fucked on worse.
This time in history is the most welcoming of that. Like, when I was going to school, a guy friend I knew wore a dress, and no one was fucking on him. Because society has evolved, especially among young people.
I don't know. Do you think I'm wrong for raising a child as a trans woman with a trans partner? If so, do you think that's on me or on bigoted people? That's beyond the question, Phoebes. It's beyond the question. It's like outside of the scope of the question. The question isn't, is it wrong for a trans person to raise a child? The question is it wrong for a trans person to raise a child and to impose that gender nonconformity on their children? Right? Because there's no choices when you're 8. You're dressed by your parents. Your parents buy you your clothes. You cannot make that choice on your own without being facilitated by your parent. And when a trans parent decides, I'm going to let my little 8-year-old boy prance around in a dress, that trans parent is making a bunch of decisions for that child. Namely, I want my child to be ostracized every single day of their life in school. I want that child to be embarrassed of its family. That's the choice that's being made. And I think somebody needs to say it. Right? There has to be some kind of fucking allotment for the mental health of children in these types of strange, genderless environments when we know that psychologically speaking, gender is very important. Very important. It is very foundational to how human beings develop and individuate. Kids get bullied anyway, not as hard as little boys in dresses do. You want to talk to me about it? Let's talk about it. You're right, kids get bullied anyway. Not as hard as little boys dressed up in dresses do. Little boys dressed up in dresses get bullied extra hard. And little boys with giant fathers that wear dresses get bullied extra hard. Any shame or detriment to mental health is coming from the abuse by their peers, not the parents' choices. So wait a minute, their parents' choice to allow their little boy to wear a dress isn't part of that. That isn't part of that math. feel like maybe teenagers like 16 to 18. That's kind of how I feel. That's kind of like when I feel that type of individuation takes place in people, because you're sexually mature, you're coming into sexual maturity, your hormones are kicking in, and your gender identity is going to start to fucking come to the fore. If I bully someone, am I responsible, or are they responsible for whatever I said and bullied them over? It's not about responsibility. Quit dancing around the point. The point is that little boy is going to have a way worse childhood than a little boy who didn't wear a dress. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying society is correct, but that is just the truth. That little boy is going to get fucked on every day. And, you know, I don't know that that is good. I don't know that it is good to let your kid start messing around with gender before their testicles even descend. I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't know that it's a bad thing. I'm bringing it up because I thought of it the other day. I'm very rarely confronted with a stark example like that. Was FDR gender confused? Everybody during FDR's era was being dressed like FDR. So no, FDR was not gender confused. FDR was dressing like all little boys at FDR's age were dressed. That's my point. If FDR were to go over to, the mom took FDR, baby FDR, to a play date, and there was another little boy, baby FDR would have played with a little boy dressed like baby FDR did. Baby FDR wouldn't be wearing a frilly dress and lace cufflinks and, you know, whatever, a bonnet on his head like a woman and a bodice. He would have been wearing a frock, which is what you put babies in before onesies. So I don't really think this is the same thing. I don't think this is the same thing. Yes. Did little boys wear frocks back in the day? Yes. If that little boy saw another little boy, what would that little boy be wearing? A frock. Nowadays, what do little boys wear? Pants, hoodies, baseball caps. What is that little boy that I saw wearing? A sundress. You see? It's not that you can't use FDR in this. What's the solution then? Only gender conforming people should have kids? Yeah, see, this is where it gets to. I'm not positing that we do anything about this. I'm asking questions. I'm asking, is that child's life going to be better, worse, or indifferent to the fact that their parents put the little boy in a dress? My contention is worse. That little boy's life is going to be harder and more trauma-filled than a little boy that their parents just bought him a pair of pants and a hoodie and let him look like all the other little boys. That's my contention. That's it. You're asking questions that suggest trans people shouldn't be allowed to have kids. No, I'm not. You can't draw a prescriptive line between me just talking about the psychology of a gender non-conforming family and me wanting to illegalize it. I didn't say that shit. So don't put words in my mouth because you're not agreeing with me. I don't like that. I'm not even asking whose fault it is, though, Johnny. I'm not saying it's it's not society's fault for the bullying, or it is. I'm just talking about the material fucking truth of a little boy who's got a 600-pound bearded lady for a dad and is already dressing in dresses at 8 and already getting fucked on by their friends. That's it. That's what we're talking about. Nobody wants to answer the question. If you had to take a bet, is this kid born trans, or is this kid dressing in a dress because dad dresses in a dress? Where would you put your money? I want everybody that's arguing with me to answer that question. Your life savings is on the line, double or nothing. The little boy in a dress was trans. The little boy in a dress is dressing in a dress because dad is in a dress. I want everybody to answer the question. Anybody arguing with me, I want them to answer the question. Put your money where your mouth is. That little boy is trans, put your money over here. That little boy is cis and just dressing in a dress because daddy does, put your money over here. Where are you putting your money? I know where my money's at. My money's over there. My money is that little boy had a dad that was gender conforming, he would be gender conforming. Got a dad in a big giant fucking 8X sundress, he's in a little sundress. That's my contention. And then the questions become, is that a good thing for the little boy? Is that a bad thing? Is it indifferent? Is that little boy going to be better off because he was allowed to do this when he was little, or forced to do it when he was little, or worse off? Is he going to be more confused when his sexuality starts to kick in, or less? Is he going to be more likely to have a traditional sexuality or less? These are the questions I'm asking. That makes sense?
Well, here's a metaphor for you. There's still a societal norm that black people make their hair look less natural. So, dad has an afro.
This isn't race.
But I'm just, it's a metaphor.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's the exact same thing.
Okay.
So, dad has an afro, kid has an afro, or mom has an afro and kid has an afro. They're bullied for it in school. Should they not have an afro? Should their hair be straightened so that they fit in and they're not bullied at school?
I mean, sometimes that happens, clearly, right? Mm-hmm. People will change their hair because they get made fun of for it. Do you think that it's a good thing that they have to go through that?
No, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm just saying that, like, you wouldn't have the same opposition to...
So if you had a little kid, we were sending him off to school. Let's say me and you had a son. Would you want to send the son off to school to be fucked on all day? Or would you want to send him off to school to learn?
Well, if that son really wanted to wear a dress, I wouldn't be like, no, you just can't.
I wouldn't either, but I would explain to my son what the consequences of doing that would be at school. I wouldn't want them to have to find out. I would explain to them, son, you can wear whatever the fuck you want, as long as you're covered up. But people are going to be fucking mean to you 24/7, 365 if you wear that. Do you think that dad is telling that kid that?
Well, I'm sure they are.
I doubt it. I think that family is telling that kid, oh, it's awesome. Do whatever you want. You can wear a dress, Billy. It's cool. They're not preparing this kid for, like, you're going to get fucked on. And I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong to fill a kid's head with, like, everything's acceptable and then send them out in the world where nothing's acceptable. God forbid someone in their life accept them for whatever they do. God forbid somebody in their life fucking tell them the truth about what's going to happen to them if they decide to be like dad. God forbid. God forbid. Yeah, God forbid we talk about the psychological impact of a child being kind of not groomed, that's a bad word. A child being raised in gender nonconformity. That's all. How do you know they didn't? I don't. I don't know that they didn't. I know where I would bet. Like if we were gonna find out, and I was gonna put money down, I know where I'd put my money on the line, and that's what we're talking about. The kid was wearing a traditional American-style frilly, low-cut sundress. Not a Muslim garb. Can we quit comparing things to things? The kid was wearing a pink and purple, off-the-shoulder, low-cut, V-necked sundress. Not a traditional Muslim fucking robe, not a FDR frock from the fucking 1919s. Okay? Let's be real. This child was wearing a dress, a frilly, feminine dress made for a little girl. Okay, let's quit with the Muslim garb. Let's quit with the FDR shit. Let's talk about now. The kid was not wearing well, maybe that's a gender fucking maybe that's a gender frock that they, no. Pink and purple sundress off the shoulders on an 8-year-old boy. You feel me? So let's talk about what we're talking about. Let's quit talking about 10,000 years ago in the Muslim Empire. Let's quit talking about 100 years ago in America. Let's talk about today. That kid was not wearing a gender neutral thing. That kid was wearing female clothes. So let's talk about what we're talking about if we're going to talk about it. Yeah, but no. Muslim garb is not, no. Muslim garb is not nonconformity. It's the opposite. Little FDR being dressed in a frock is not nonconformity. It's the opposite. You see? Now do we get it? Muslim garb is not nonconformity, even in the West. Go to Dearborn. Go to Dearborn, Phoebe, and tell me it's nonconformity. In fact, come here to Seattle. It won't be long till you see people in a keffiyeh. It won't be long until you see people wearing traditional Muslim garb right here in Seattle. So let's not talk about nonconformity. Let's not talk about nonconformity. I told you to go to Dearborn because that's where a lot of Muslim people live, so you could actually see whether the keffiyeh was nonconformity or not. You're talking about traditional garb, right? Traditional cultural garb. And you're trying to say it's the same thing as a pink frilly sundress, and it isn't. So I don't want this anymore. This comparison isn't going to go, it's not going to bear any fruit because it's apples and oranges. You can't go, well, look at this. FDR was wearing a dress. It's like every little boy was wearing a dress at that age. It was conformity. What did they dress FDR in when he started walking? Can you find a picture of that for me? You want to use FDR? Find me a picture of FDR at 8. No, I'm listening to your counterpoints now. You brought up FDR, Phoebes. Let's talk FDR. Find me a picture of FDR at 8. What was he dressing in? And tell me he's not conforming. Go find me a picture of a Muslim, how they're dressing at 8. And you tell me they're not conforming. You don't, apples and oranges, yo. Apples and oranges. I think we're comparing being bullied for the way you dress. Muslim garb isn't the exact same, sure, but being mistreated for said dress is. Sure. Absolutely. But that's not the question we're asking. The question we're asking is better or worse? That little boy's life going to be better or worse because dad is a 600-pound bearded woman and, told him to dress in a dress? He going to have a easier time of it or a harder time? He going to have more psychological problems or less? That's all I'm asking. What's the outcropping of it, and is anybody thinking about it? Worse. Thank you. That's it. That's all I want to know. That's all I'm asking. It's food for thought. Well, forcing doesn't necessarily mean put on this dress, right? When you're talking about a child whose mind is a sponge, right? Talking about an 8-year-old boy. They literally don't, they know nothing. Their brains are like little sponges and they're looking at mom and they're looking at dad and that's how they act. I know the point you're making, but you're missing the point. Nonconformity. The people that dressed little boys like girls back in the early 19th century were conforming to gender norms. Do you understand? So are you going to continue using that or no? FDR would not have been taken in his little frock to a group of kids and they're all wearing pants and pointing and laughing at FDR. If FDR was taken to a get-together with other little kids in his frock, they would have been wearing frocks too. And there would have been no, ha ha. You get it? So are you getting it yet? Or no? Or are we going to stay on FDR? Because we can stay on FDR if you want. You find that picture of FDR at 8 yet? What was he wearing? Pantaloons? Button-up shirt? Ruh-roh. Bad example? Bad example, maybe? You want to try another one? You want to go back to the Muslim garb? Let's go back to the Muslim garb. Because these examples you're giving me, like race, religion, we're not talking about race and religion. We're talking about gender. Right? Can we talk about gender? Can we not go back to the 19th century and look at how conformity was different back then? Can we look at now? Can we look at the issue at hand? A little boy in a pink sundress. Because daddy's in a pink sundress. Not because he wants to be, not because he would have been normally, but because he sees daddy doing it and he puts on a dress. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a Muslim keffiyeh. We're not talking about a hijab or a niqab. We're not talking about those things. That's it. If you're asking questions, if you're just curious, if you're just asking questions, why are you so passionate about this? I'm passionate about it because I've been arguing with you guys back and forth for like an hour. That's it. I think it's an interesting conversation. I think it's an incredibly interesting conversation. That's all. I'm about as passionate about this as I am the last thing we talked about and I got fucking passionate about, okay? That's what I do. So don't read into passion what could be explained by just normal curiosity. Don't attribute to passion what can be explained by curiosity. I'm curious as to what that little boy's life is going to be like. And I'm curious if his life would be better or worse if dad wasn't a 6'5" fucking 900-pound bearded lady. That's all. I'm wondering if that kid is going to have better outcomes or worse outcomes because mom and dad put him in a pink sundress and parade him around. That's all I want to know. It's all I want to know. Nobody wants to answer that. I don't think there is an answer that could be given for that. But the answer isn't FDR. The answer isn't Muslim garb. No, gender nonconformity is, it doesn't have to be okay. It's not on me to make it okay. That's not what this is about. I'm trying to think, is this little boy prancing around in a dress that his father put him in going to be better off in our society or worse in the long run? That's all I'm asking. That's it. Well, yeah, to me, how else could I argue? There are plenty of answers here. I didn't ignore them. I'm reading them. I can't read every goddamn thing. I'm in the middle of talking. You don't want an answer. You want to feel correct. Okay. I tell you what, guys, let's just stop talking about this. How about that? Let's move on to another topic. How about that? It's upsetting people. Let's not get upset. Yeah. Queer folks already have it harder. Now I want you to assume, femboy, that the little boy isn't queer. That the little boy's just doing what little boys do and emulating dad. Now what? Yeah, no, that's fine, Phoebes. We'll do a little thing. Well, when did you know a boy in a dress in school? Not upset. You're just ignoring us. I didn't know a boy in a dress in school. It wouldn't have happened. Like, it just wouldn't have happened in my day. Now they can understand the pain of queer people. Oh man, well, that's wonderful. Put your child through hell so they can understand the pain of queer people. Sounds good. There's definitely no way to understand the pain of queer people without having your parents dress you up like a queer. You're right. That's absolutely valid. Yeah. There's no possible way to understand how queer people live and what their struggles are without being dressed up like a queer when you're 8. You're right. You're absolutely right. You know what? Conversation over. I was wrong. Come on. Yeah. Were you bullied for the way that you dress? Let me ask you a question. I'm zeroing in on you, Ghoul. Were you bullied for the way that you dressed because you were dressing like your mom? Or were you bullied for the way that you dressed because you decided to wear some crazy shit and people made fun of you for it? Were you dressing like your mom and dad? Were you looking at mom and going, oh, that's how I'm supposed to look? Were you looking at dad and going, oh, that's how I'm supposed to look? Or were you individuating? That's the question. You say you're not advocating for anything specific to be. Yeah, well, my tone, Otello, you can tone, you can put the fucking crystal ball out and tone read me all you want. Tone is bullshit. My tone is the same with this as it would be for some other thing I'm fucking thinking about. So let's not go tone police. Let's just not. My tone doesn't matter. What I'm saying matters. Respond to that. That's how I feel about it. Fuck my tone. Let's not talk about my tone, and let's not start invoking fucking 300 years of history here. Let's talk about here and now. That's it. Right. So you made a choice to dress differently than your mother did, and you got fucked on for it. Cool. I understand that. I understand that. That's different than your mother putting you as a little boy in a dress and sending you off to school in it. That's different. You agree? Yeah, I don't want to be right. Just food for thought. Boys used to be bullied for long hair. That was super queer at one point. I do agree. Putting it on a prepubescent boy may be wrong. Some debate there. Well, that's the zone that I'm in, right? Would that kid be in a dress if dad wasn't a bearded lady? The answer is no, in my mind. If I had to put my money down, that kid is actually trans at 8 and exploring their gender at 8, or they're just dressing like in a dress because dad is in a dress. I know where my money's going, but nobody seems to think that's a good argument. Nobody wants to talk about the influence. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I get it. I understand why, because there's some nuance there that needs to be worked through, and it's pretty uncomfortable nuance. Nope. I had 5 sisters, never wore a dress. How'd that happen, Dr. J. Spill? I'm the only boy in my family. Eldest boy, 5 little sisters, never wore a dress. How'd that work? Never wanted to. Never wanted to. Well, she did put me in them for a good while because she didn't want to buy new clothes when I could fit into my brother's old ones. Well, sure. Got you. So you were dressed up like a boy. So your parents dressed you up like a boy and you got fucked on for it. Cool. Case in point, it'd be fucked up if the parents make the boy dress like that. But if the kid did it at their own volition and knows he's 8. He can't know the consequences. That's my point, Femboy. Consequences don't exist at 8. Right? Consequences are laid down by mom and dad at 8, and you don't understand what it is. They're called rules at 8. You don't understand the term consequence until you're old enough to have consequences in your life. Real consequences, not your grounded, not you go to bed without dinner, no. Real consequence. An 8-year-old cannot understand the real consequence. Growing up, I dressed like a girl when I went over to other girls' houses and they wanted me to dress me up, no parental influence. Did your parents know that was going on? If not, then how could there be parental influence? Maybe people just like to dress up. Sure, people do. I like to dress up. That's not what we're talking about. My point was that I either conformed or didn't, just like the boy in the dress will, of course, assuming his parents let him dress how he wants. Assuming, yeah. But you are a good example. Your mother gave you boy clothes to wear and you were fucked on for it and you decided to stop doing it. I feel like that's right up the alley of what I've been talking about here all the time. Yeah, of course they wouldn't approve of it, right? I think the reason they wouldn't approve of it is because they probably didn't want you to be fucked on. I think that if you wear this at school or in public, you'll get bullied and judged. Wouldn't be over the average 8-year-old's head. I feel like it would. I feel like it would. In fact, I know it would. 8-year-olds are like fucking dogs in terms of intelligence, bro. They are literally little fucking sponges that do things that they see people doing. We're not doing the race thing. We're not talking about race. We're not going to compare a little boy in a dress to integrating schools. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. It's not the same thing. Like this topic is really annoying for me sometimes because I feel like people don't want to stay on it. They want to go to like, oh, what about Muslims? What about FDR? What about this? What about that? It's whataboutism when we're talking about this because nobody wants to focus on what's actually happening. Little boy in a dress because dad's in a dress. Right? Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to discuss it. Everybody wants to fucking take it to Muslims. Take it to fucking the 1900s. Take it over here. Take it over there. Take it over here. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about now. Let's talk about the little boy in a dress. What's up? Like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the fucking historical examples that don't even apply because the examples you give are examples of gender conformity, not gender nonconformity. FDR being in a frock was gender conformity at that time. Every other little boy would have been in a frock at his age. He didn't look at little boys and go like, oh shit, they're dressing different than me. They're acting different than me. He didn't do that. That didn't happen. Same thing in the Muslim world. And definitely the same, not the same thing when it comes to racial integration in the South during Jim Crow. How far off topic could we fucking get? Somebody just invoked Jim Crow in here to talk about a little boy in a dress. Are we fucking crazy? Or can we stay on the topic or what? I was watching movies like crazy when I was 8, but I'm going to call you a fucking liar. A fucking liar if you're going to tell me you understood all the adult themes in those movies at 8. You're a fucking liar. I was watching big time fucking adult movies at 6. You think I got all the references? Think I understood the implications psychologically or otherwise? No, because I was a mush brain, a little kid. You weren't Tarantino aware at 8. I'm sorry, you weren't. You might have liked the movies because cool stuff happens, but you had no idea the consequences. You had no idea the adult themes. And that's my point. Gender is an adult? Yeah, it is. Yeah, if you're going to choose to non-conform your gender, it should be an adult thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Unless you're dealing with a trans child. But there are tons of psychological examinations that go into that. You get it? You have a trans child, that's different. You don't have a trans child, that's different. Nope. I didn't understand a whole bunch of the Lord of the Rings when I read it at 8. A whole bunch of it went right over my head. The more adult themes, the stuff about love and loss. How could I know about that shit yet? I was 8. Right? I still enjoyed the book. But did I get it? Did I get the human tragedy theme? Did I get the eternal unrequited love theme? Did I get the otherization and the racial themes and the racial sub-themes? No. No, I didn't. You see? These examples that I'm being given just fall flat, and they're all outside of the scope of the fucking conversation. We're not talking about a little kid watching movies. We're not talking about a little kid reading a book. We're talking about a little kid looking at their fucking 600-pound bearded lady of a father and deciding that that's what they want to be. And I'm asking the question, is that child better off or worse off for that decision? That's it. Gender is worse than sexuality. Gender is more complex than sexuality. That's just the backwards. Sexuality is simple. Gender is complex. Generally curious where the conversation goes after I answer that the child is worse off. Yeah. I don't know either. I'm asking the question, right? Like, if that's true, if we've come to the place where we're all willing to admit that the child is worse off because he's encouraged to dress like his father in a dress, right? If we're all in agreement of that, then what does that mean for this? What does that mean? How do we counter conservatives who say that it's bad for children to be forced into gender nonconformity by gender nonconforming parents? How do we counter that if we're all agreeing that that child is worse off because his dad is a bearded lady? How do we counter that argument? How do we counter the conservative argument that it's bad for children to be raised in a gender nonconforming way if we all just agreed it's worse for the kid, right? Or did we not agree now? Yeah, maybe we shouldn't make them worse off, but let's talk about it. Oh, how we fix society. How we do that. How we do that? Because right now, we don't have an answer to that. Right now, it's just like free for all. What do you emphasize on the 600 pounds? Because he was fucking huge. I don't know. What do you want me to say? A skinny guy? Donation because this conversation is interesting. Thank you, friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for the Swedish kroner. Just a conversation, y'all. Not making any prescriptions. Certainly wouldn't say that it should be made illegal for people to dress however they want. I'm just wondering, how do we counter this conservative idea? The kids are worse off when we all just came to the agreement that the kids is worse off. Yeah, I'm giving an example I witnessed IRL. Yeah. There's a big, looked like 500-600 pound man in a big dress with a little boy that was also wearing a dress. We never came to that agreement. Yeah, we did. You're side chat. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the people that I'm talking to in here that I've been going back and forth with pretty uniformly agreed the little boy's worse off. So then somebody asked the question, how do we counter the conservative narrative that it is bad for parents to let their children gender non-conform before they're old enough? How are we supposed to do that? Right? How are we supposed to counter that when we all just agreed that it's bad? That's what I want to know. Like, what's the counter? If I was a conservative guy going here, that kid is being indoctrinated into gender nonconformity, and his life is going to be worse because of it, and it shouldn't have happened. Right? If a conservative said that, right? How am I supposed to say, no, it's good for that kid to be in a dress when we just agreed it isn't? We just agreed that the kid is worse off because he's emulating dad, who's a bearded lady. Right? We all just agreed, or most of us that I'm talking to in here agreed. So how, if I were a conservative guy going, that can't happen anymore. That little boy should not be in a dress, right? Because it's wrong, because it makes him feel confused or whatever, right? I'm a conservative, I'm saying that. How do we counter that? How do we counter that? What's the counterpoint that we bring up to a conservative when we all just agreed that that little boy is going to get fucked on because he's dressing like his dad? Now, what do we do? How do we counter that? Live and let die. Live and let die. Don't use the freedom argument with the conservative. Children don't have freedom. Don't use that. That's a bad angle to take. I'll tell you that. I've talked with a lot of conservatives. Children don't have freedom, and that's true. Your child doesn't buy its own clothes, drive its own car, and make its own decisions. You make those decisions for it. You get it? An 8-year-old doesn't have autonomy at all. An 8-year-old can't even feed itself. An 8-year-old can't secure food and shelter. An 8-year-old can't dress itself because it has no money. So mom and dad bought a dress and put it on a little boy. That's it. Kids don't have any freedom. There's no such thing as freedom when you're a child. Right? We all agree on that. So if that child isn't free to choose, then that choice has been made for the child. That child didn't purchase that dress. Mom purchased it, or dad. That child didn't want to be in that dress naturally. They wanted to be in the dress because dad wears a dress. Mom and dad bought the dress. Mom and dad put the dress on the little boy. Mom and dad told the little boy, put on your dress. You get it? Do you get it now? Are we starting to get to the point? Go get your dress on. We're going out to eat. Go put on your dress. Right? So we get it? We're starting to get it now. There is no freedom in childhood. Children don't make those types of decisions because they have no basis to make them. You know who makes those decisions? Mom and dad. Are we starting to get to it? You were asking about bong shelter yesterday. Oh yeah, yeah, Pranav. Yeah, you could. Yeah, Pranav wants to be in bong. I think. I think he might have joined. Am I wrong? I don't know. The parents are pushing it, then yes, it's harmful. I don't see how the parents couldn't be pushing it. How could the parents not be pushing it when they purchased the dress? They put the kid in the dress. How are they not pushing it? I don't get that. I don't get that. A child, like we just agreed, right? A child has no autonomy, zero autonomy. They dress in what you buy them, they eat what you feed them, and they go where you tell them to go. Oh, thank you, baby. Thank you. I was gonna forget. Nima bought it for their birthday, then what? Mom and dad still get to dress the kid. Mom and dad tell the kid, go put on the dress. Kids don't have autonomy. Kids can't make decisions for themselves. That's why they're children. Mom and dad buy the clothes. Mom and dad tell them to get dressed. Mom and dad tell them to go study. Mom and dad tell them what to eat and when. What they can and can't do. What they can and can't say. I think that people underestimate the power of parenthood. Children are not these little proto-adults. They're children. They do as they're told. They do as they see. No, they don't. Children are allowed to choose clothes and toys, and mom and dad buy them. Mom and dad take them to the store where they are allowed to choose a toy. You get it? That's not the same thing as going, I have autonomy and I want that Etch-a-Sketch. I'm going to go get that. That's autonomy. Autonomy is not mom and dad take you to the store. Mom and dad allow you to purchase something that you like. That's not autonomy. That's mom and dad. That's mom telling you what you can do. So when they said, little Billy, go get your dress on, we're going to go out and get a burger. Little Billy wouldn't put his dress on because little Billy is what? A child. But for some reason, when we're having this conversation, we're talking about little Billy like he's an autonomous adult. Little Billy can choose. Little Billy can dress. Little Billy can do. No, little Billy can't. Little Billy does what he's told. Little Billy's a child. No money. No car. No self-determination at all. It's an unwinnable argument because you either stifle progress to protect children from suffering or you accept the suffering in the sake of progress. Not true. Well, the ultimate point I was trying to make is how do we counter the conservative argument that it is bad for children to be allowed to gender non-conform when we all agree that the child is worse off for it?
I'd argue that the child's less worse off having a supportive family than not having a supportive family.
That's true. Having a supportive family is step one. Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm happy for that child that he's got a wonderful supportive family. But that doesn't change anything that I've said. It's great that he has a supportive family. It's great. That doesn't change the fact that that kid doesn't make that choice. Mom and dad do. That kid wouldn't even be able to eat on its own. You put that kid in the middle of a city, it would be dead by the end of the day. You get it? Kid has no autonomy. And what little bit it may express isn't real autonomy because it's allowed by mom and dad. You get it? You starting to understand psychologically what I'm talking about here? There's pressure, right? A child acts as its parents tell it to act. So if the little boy is in a dress, it's not just because he got a wild hair up his ass and bought a dress for himself and put it on. Mom and dad facilitated it. And when you're talking about a little boy in a dress who's got a dad in a dress, they facilitated it directly and indirectly. You get it? There's no way that kid autonomously went and bought a dress or decided he wanted to even. Every idea that's in that child's head was put there by parents and teachers. Get it? Yeah, I'm not name calling anybody. Don't name call me. I'm not trying to fucking make a big prescriptive judgment here either. I'm asking a hard question. If I was a conservative sitting here going, that little boy's fucked up, that shouldn't have happened, right? How do I counter that if I agree that that little boy probably shouldn't have been in a dress? How do I counter that when I agree that that little boy's life is going to be harder because mom and dad put him in a dress?
I know you're not saying it's wrong, but that's how some people are going to interpret it.
I know, but I'm really just trying to ask the deep question. When a conservative comes to you and goes, look at that little boy in a dress, that's fucked up. That little boy never would have chosen that dress, and it's only because dad is a big fat bearded lady that that little boy even had the thought to put a dress on, and that's wrong. If I was a conservative saying that, what's the counter? When after all this acrimony, we all agree that little boy would be better off if mom and dad just put him in a ball cap. And the little boy probably wouldn't even know the difference because he's 8. So if we all agree on that, which I think we did just a few minutes ago, then how do we counter conservatives saying that it's bad for that kid to be in a dress when we all agree it kind of is? Well, okay, we don't all agree, but a lot of the people that I was going back and forth with, I asked them the direct question, better or worse that that kid's in a dress? And they said worse.
I'd argue better than a kid that stole a dress from his sister's closet and wore it to school one day. Well, the kid could have that autonomy.
No, the kid can't wear a dress to school.
How
did he get to school?
Well,
see what I mean?
Parents aren't always watching, like some.
An 8-year-old.
Some parents let their kid walk themselves to the
and then
school
if that kid did steal one of his sister's dresses and go to school and got fucked on for it, what do you think mom and dad would say when he comes home?
Well, they probably wouldn't like it, but I'm just saying that it's not impossible for a kid to choose that to a degree.
Every choice a child makes is a choice that they make because they watched their parents make the same choice.
There are tons of kids that make different choices
children
than their parents want them to make.
Right, and then parents and it's a parent's job when a child tries to make a choice that's going to fuck it up to go, Johnny, no. When you get older, if you want to wear a dress, pop your whoop, Johnny. But right now, you need to fucking do what you're told.
Because that sounds like you're saying that parents that let their kids express their gender expression are...
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just
saying it sounds like that.
If you go through the psychological process of determining that your child is trans, by the way, that is a psychological process. Kid comes home, Mama, I think I'm a girl. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go talk to a doctor. Mm-hmm. That goes through a process. And at the end of that process, the professionals will tell you, you got a trans child. Or you got a confused child. You got a child that sees things in the world and is trying to do it.
But people don't all have access to that kind of thing.
They should.
Yeah.
They should. It should absolutely 100% be access for parents who think their child might be trans. Mm-hmm. Get a process and get a psychological determination that you're dealing with a trans child. And at that point, it's all bets off, right? Because that little boy would probably, in a couple of years, be on hormone blockers. Mm-hmm. We'd be moving towards the process of you're not a little boy, you're a little girl. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's what was going on. I don't know that wasn't what was going on. Mm-hmm. But presume it wasn't. Because it's pretty rare. It's got to be pretty rare for a trans person to have a trans person. Let's just presume that isn't what's going on. Right? If we make that one presumption, which we have to, I can't find these people and ask them, and it would be impertinent for me to do so. If we make that one inference that this kid is emulating dad to wear a dress, right? Then we arrive right back where we started. It is a parent's job to protect a child, to raise them up the best they can, so that they can make those adult decisions for themselves.
Well, that's where I come back to the metaphor of like a black kid with natural hair.
I just don't like the racial metaphor. I don't like when we're talking about this one issue, we start talking about racial inequality. Earlier, after you left, they were talking about Muslim garb. And it's like we're not talking about religion. We're not talking about. We're talking
Yeah,
about
but
a boy in a dress.
the point of a metaphor is saying that in all those cases, a kid is emulating their parents, and that emulation raises the possibility of bullying. And is that inherently
Not only bullying, but deep confusion, deep, abiding confusion about sexuality. You don't think?
I don't know that it necessarily means confusion, or if it just means changing the societal
I don't know either,
norms.
but I suspect.
Yeah.
I suspect that it means confusion because
Well,
I don't see it any other. I can't see any other reason why an 8-year-old with no autonomy would be in a dress.
yeah. The point of the metaphor is, it's society is going to be what it's going to be, but society right now is the most welcoming it's going to get. Maybe not the like it's kind of shifted a little bit more to the right recently, so maybe it's a little bit more dangerous to be gender non-conforming than like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's still way better than it was like 50 years ago.
It's way better than it was even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I never saw a boy in a dress ever.
Mm-hmm.
Not even outside of school.
Yeah.
Never once when I was a child
But
did I see a boy in a dress.
I think you kind of skipped over the thing that I said about like when I was in high school, a guy wore a dress to school.
Mhm.
There was no fuckery on him.
Really?
Yeah.
You really think nobody was shitty to that kid? Not a single person was shitty to that
They
kid.
were one of my closest friends. They would have told me if people were
All
fucking
right.
on him.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe you're right. Maybe it won't be a big deal.
It has less of a chance of being a big deal now than
Sure. But my gut, if that is worth anything, tells me it is a big deal. Still, even if society has gotten more accepting of gender nonconformity, my gut tells me it's a big deal. It's not as simple as a child that making a choice, because I don't even believe children make choices. I believe children do as they're told, and children do as they see. And I think that because I've studied psychology. Like a child is a sponge, it absorbs whatever you tell it. If it sees mom slapping dad around or vice versa, that child is way more likely to punch people at school. If they see dad drinking, that child is way more likely to be an alcoholic when they grow up. Right? We know this. Now, that child sees dad in a dress. What are they way more likely to do? Get it?
but I still think that the perception people are I mean, I understand that you feel that you're being misrepresented, but the impression people are getting is that you're saying that the parents are making a bad choice by letting their kid.
Well, yeah, that is kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying that if that kid is not trans, and we're making the assumption that kid is not trans,
So you're saying
it is a
that
bad
you
thing.
think it's
Yeah.
acceptable more if they go through the whole
Yes.
evaluation.
Yes,
process.
because I believe that transness is wired. And so I think it's better for an 8-year-old boy who's trans to get diagnosed and to start going through the HRT process, right? I do. Yeah, that's where I think a little boy in a dress, it wouldn't be a little boy anymore. If
But
you
what-
go and you get psychologically examined and that doctor goes, "Yeah, this is real. You've got a trans child. You're no longer a boy."
What if that kid doesn't think they have to go that far to feel comfortable in their own body? What if that child just wants to wear a dress but doesn't have
Then when that
dysphoria?
child is 16, they can do it. When that child is 16 and their testicles have descended and they have and they're starting to individuate sexuality in them, that child can dress however they want. But for now, mom and dad are going to put pants on you and you're going to go to school. You feel like you're a little girl? We'll talk to the psychologist about it. And if they say, right, if you go through that process, and there is a process, especially for children. You go through that process and you're trans, cool. You're not a little boy anymore. You're not non-conforming. You're not risking any worse fucking bullying by dressing the gender you identify as. Right?
Well, I mean, it's still the same risk of bullying. It's just a matter of if
But the
there's
bullying is different. The bullying is different because then you can tell the kid people don't like you, right? Because you're different.
But why couldn't they do the same thing of being gender?
Because they're not different. A little boy who wears a dress because he sees dad wearing a dress is not questioning his gender, not exploring gender and sexuality. They're monkey see, monkey do. That's it. That's all I'm bringing up. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is, once again, how do we counter the conservative argument that this shouldn't be happening when we're seeming to agree that this child is going to be worse off because his parents bought him a dress and put him in it?
Well, like I said, I know you don't think the metaphors are valuable because you think it's different, but I think metaphors are how you communicate. Kid could be bullied for a turban.
Right.
If they're Sikh.
I'm fine with metaphors, but I mixed metaphors. I'm not. So when we're talking about a little boy in a dress and we start talking about Sikhs, we're too far apart. That we're not talking about gender non-conforming. We're talking about traditional garb. We're not talking about a little boy in a frilly purple sundress.
And the point of metaphor is to get. It's not meant to be the exact.
I get
same.
it, but you understand the term mixed metaphor? Oftentimes people will take a metaphor and go so far afield from the regular point that you're mixing metaphors. We're not talking about Sikh kids wearing turbans, right? That's a whole different thing. That's a whole religion, cultural identity. A little boy in a dress is not a religion, and it's not a cultural identity. It's a little boy in a dress. It's not. People earlier were trying to say, well, what about like, do you say it was wrong because it was against society when we integrated the schools down south? It's like, dude, we're so far afield from a little boy in a dress. How does that metaphor even apply?
Well, because the consequences are very similar to the bullying.
No, they're not. It's different. A black child is being bullied because their skin is black and there's nothing they can change about it. That little boy is being bullied because he sees his dad wearing a dress and mom and dad bought him a dress and sent him to school in it. That's two different things.
Well, there's a
immutable characteristic. Mom and dad made a decision to buy a little boy a dress. We can't mix that metaphor. We cannot mix it. It doesn't work. Same thing with a Muslim kafia.
Well, how they have their hair isn't immutable. Like, I'm saying, like, the metaphor I brought up was about, like, their hair. Like, if they have the natural hair that they get bullied for.
Yeah, but that's racial. That's immutable. Immutable. A black person's hair is an immutable characteristic. Black people's hair grows how black people's hair grows. A little boy isn't born in a dress.
But you also agree that transness can be immutable.
Yes, but you don't just put your kid in a dress because you think he might be trans. You don't. That is not the choice you make. Because if that kid is just looking at dad and going like, well, my daddy wears a dress, I want to wear a pretty dress too. When that kid gets 16, what do you think that's going to do to him? If he's not gay, but he was in a dress his whole fucking life, what do you think that's going to do to him when his nuts drop? You think he's going to be more or less likely to have a healthy sexual life?
Well, I think this gender conformity, like, society has evolved a lot on gender expression.
It has.
Both things.
But we're at a crux.
Can't just say that we should stop evolving it because you think it's more dangerous for the kids.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not making any prescription. I'm asking, how do we counter the conservative argument that child is worse off because it sees daddy in a dress and parents allow it to dress in a dress? Mm-hmm. How do we counter that? Because we all seem to agree that kid's life is going to be harder, and we're assuming he's not trans, right? We're making that one little assumption because we can't mind read. We're assuming this child isn't trans. We're assuming that the child is dressing like daddy dresses. We all agree child is going to have a harder time of it because the parents bought him that dress.
But you're shooting down every metaphor that might communicate it better, or
I have to shoot down a metaphor when it's so far afield. when we're talking about racial integration or black people's hair versus you deciding to go to a store and buy your little boy a dress, I don't see the metaphor. I don't see it. I cannot connect those two things and see connective tissue between them. If you could give me a metaphor about a little boy in a dress somewhere else that applies, I'll hear it. If you can tell me, give me a metaphor about gender nonconformity in the past.
Well, we've talked about how like the transness. So you're still standing on that the risk and benefit is only worth it if the kid is like diagnosed trans.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think you put a little boy in a dress because dad wears a dress. I think you put a little boy in a dress because you took him to a psychologist and the psychologist says you have a trans kid. Then you go, okay, and then it's not a little boy in a dress. Then it's a little girl in a dress. You see? But until that happens, that little boy doesn't have a sexuality right now. And sexuality and gender are intertwined. That little boy doesn't have a sexual life. That little boy doesn't have adult concerns. And that little boy could not possibly understand the repercussions of dressing like a girl. The only reason that child was dressed like a girl is because their dad is dressed like a girl.
Are you saying that kids that age can't know if they're gay? Because you're saying that they have no sexuality?
No. But gay isn't trans.
No, but you're saying that they're deeply intertwined, so that's what I'm confused about.
Right. That kid does not have adult sexuality. Doesn't. Right? We agree. That child doesn't have adult sexual drives. That child doesn't have adult sexual makeup. That child doesn't have the hormone composition that he will at 16. Correct? That's what I'm saying.
But we're talking about sexual orientation. If you can know that you're gay at that age, then that's still the sexual
I don't know
identity.
that you can know that you're gay at that age. Because
Did
you're not
you-
even
did
a
you-
sexual being.
Did you not know that you were bi when you were younger?
No. I had no fucking clue what I was
Even
when I
though
was
you
younger.
were doing stuff with boys
Yes.
and having crushes on
Yes.
boys.
I had I didn't even know what bisexuality was as a child.
But you did, even if you didn't have a word for it, you knew that there was an attraction to boys.
I
there.
didn't even know. Like, I wouldn't have, if you would have asked me at that age, are you attracted to little boys or little girls? I wouldn't have told, I would have been like, what? Huh? We were literally just experimenting. It was just like, and kids do that. Kids will experiment with
So,
sexuality. That's all it was.
Why can't they experiment with gender expression?
Okay, that's a great question. They can. They can. It's not about can or can't. It's about should.
So you're saying that you shouldn't have explored it because you could have been bullied if people found out that you were experimenting?
Not only that, but, well, are you talking about me experimenting with another little boy?
Yeah.
I did. I
What-
got caught doing it, and I got shamed for it.
Yeah. But would you say that it was a failure of your parents to tell you that you can't do that?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't want my little kid sticking things in another little kid's asshole, would you?
No, but I'm just saying, like,
Because that's
you-
what I did.
that's you as a kid experimenting, and I just like I don't know why you're like
No,
they're
that's
similar.
that's
to
a great
kid.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
We have a kid. We catch them in the back of a truck with a plastic screwdriver up their ass.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell them that's okay, honey. Put another screwdriver up
No,
your
we're
ass.
not. I'm not saying that we tell them that's like that specific action is okay, but we tell them it's okay to like boys.
At 6 or 7, you would have told me that.
Well,
You think a 6-year-old is ready for that talk? I don't.
well, I mean, like you have to do sex ed at some point. So if someone is showing signs of being attracted to boys, I'd tell them that it's okay to like boys, but not all boys like boys.
That wasn't what I was. It was literally, you don't do that. You don't let people put things in your bottom.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
But
I
they
wasn't
also
told that's
told-
gay. That's gay. You don't do that. That's gay.
But you were also told later that
That gayness was bad. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, you take that as an opportunity to say, you know, you're too little to be doing that, but it's okay to like boys.
That's fine. Liking boys is not a little boy in a
Like,
dress. I don't get we're starting to get far
well,
afield.
there's a difference, like, let's say, between a boy wearing a dress and a boy putting stuff in his shirt so it looks like he has boobs and putting makeup on.
At that age, what 8-year-old girl is putting stuffing boobs and putting makeup on?
There are some kids that try
They
to
shouldn't
mess with.
be.
Yeah.
They
Well, that's
shouldn't
what I'm
be.
saying. Like, you can set a boundary, but still acknowledge. You can be supportive of the.
Okay. So if we all acknowledge that that little boy is going to be bullied all the way through school, should the parents set a boundary that you're not allowed to choose to gender nonconform until you're old enough to understand the implication of it? That 8-year-old doesn't know what it means for a little boy to be in a dress in this society. There's no way to explain it.
Well,
So do you think that it would be better those people let that child explore that at home, but let them know that home is different than out in public until you're old enough to understand what it means for a boy to be in a dress?
so okay, but there's still the ultimate consequence of, even if they were diagnosed as trans, the bullying is still going to be there.
Right, but it's an immutable characteristic at that point. It's not mom decided to buy a sundress for the boy and put him in it, right? That's an immutable characteristic, just like being black.
Well, you didn't like the religion comparison, but that's not an immutable characteristic.
That's why I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it's not immutable, but it's completely different from gender.
But the bullying consequence can be the same.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah. I agree. I think religion should go away too. I don't think children should be indoctrinated into religion, but I think it's a different conversation.
But you think that it's, if dad wears a turban and kid wears a turban, even if they don't believe the exact same reasons for why the turban's important?
How does a kid get that?
Well, like, I'm just saying, like, they're copying their parents or whatever.
But their parents are explaining to them why they're wearing the turban.
Well, they might not explain it in depth until they're older. They might just say, we wear this.
You don't think Sikh children are indoctrinated into religion?
Well, I'm saying it's a spectrum. Like,
So they're not going to talk to this Sikh child about the meaning of the turban?
well, I'm sure they will at some point, but it's a spectrum of, like, explaining it as they get older to understand more.
I agree, and I think a little boy wearing a dress is a spectrum as well. I think there's no way for those parents to give that little boy the information about what it means for him to be in a dress at 8. And I do think you can explain to a Sikh why mom and dad wear a turban and other people don't at 8.
But you'd also have to explain why some people might bully them for that.
Yeah.
And that's a similar conversation to why explaining to a boy in a dress why he might be bullied.
Sure. But I just don't see it. Sexuality and gender is not a religion. They're different things, societally speaking, different traditions.
But the consequences
are the same, yeah. A kid being born albino, the consequences are the same. Right? A kid being born with a cleft palate, the consequences are the same. We're talking about immutable characteristics there. Mutable characteristics are like family traditions, religion, language. These things are passed down from parent to child, just like everything else is. The question is, when you pass down, dad's a man in a dress, you're a little boy in a dress, is it the same thing?
Well, like your mom let you have long hair for a while. Maybe
she didn't let me. She chose. I didn't ask her to have long hair.
But
she chose to let my hair grow out, and I was a baby. I was a toddler.
Okay.
I'm not trying to shut you down. I'm just saying, right? Like,
well, I've tried every different kind of metaphor, and it's not getting through to you, so I don't know what to do.
I don't think metaphors are the right thing to talk about here. I honestly think the reason you're feeling like I'm shooting down all your metaphors is that maybe metaphors aren't the way we need to do this, because maybe there's not a whole lot to compare this to. That's all.
But so gender expression evolves over time, and there's always going to be people at the forefront. And
Well,
if we can,
I'm just wondering if that little boy, if being at the forefront of new gender expression is worth all the pain and suffering that that little boy is going to go just because mom and dad won't buy him a pair of pants.
I mean,
That's the question, right? I get it. Mores are changing. People are deciding things are different. I get that. I'm fine with that. I'm just asking, when you decide you're going to be on the very vanguard of that and put your little boy in a dress, right? What are the consequences for that little boy? And I don't think the consequences, I don't think any of them are positive. I think 99% of the consequences are negative. And I think that that child had no choice in how it dressed. I think that it can't have that choice because it can't make its own clothes or purchase its own clothes.
well, someone has to be at the vanguard. There had to be the first few girls wearing pants to school.
I
There
get it.
had to be the first fucking black kids going to school. There had to be all these things.
I get it. I'm just not sure that it's right that that little boy is the vanguard because he's 8.
Someone has to be. Someone is
So
going to be.
let's
Regardless.
throw a bunch of children into it then. Okay. I just don't think that's good. That's it. Somebody's got to be at the vanguard. Why can't dad be at the vanguard? Why
Well, they
can't
already
big
are.
fat dad be at the fucking vanguard and
But-
let his child have a normal childhood and let him decide if he wants to be part of the vanguard once his nuts drop? I don't like holding your child up like a shield as the vanguard for social change. Hold yourself up. Wear your frilly fucking dress and gain another 100 pounds and be what you are. But why force that on your child and hold them up in front of society's scorn? I just don't get it. I don't get it. But that, I think we're at least at the crux of what the issue that I have. That's it. I get it. I don't like the metaphors for things that aren't sexuality based. I don't like racial metaphors for this. I don't like religious metaphors for it because I don't think they mix. If there's a metaphor about gender expression that you can think of,
Well, I've tried by saying how girls have pushed the boundaries.
do you think little girls in pants wear the same kind of pants and shirts that little boys do?
They do.
They don't.
They do. Sometimes there's tomboy girls that wear boy pants.
There
and
are,
wear
but
boy-
when we're talking in generalities about a little girl wearing pants, is that little girl going to be wearing the same type of pants and the same T-shirt as a little boy on the general?
Well, we're not talking about it. We're not saying
talking about
every
general.
boy's wearing a dress. We're saying some girls dress like tomboys, and it's pushing this gender boundary just like a boy wearing a dress is.
I don't know. I guess I'll next time I'm around my nieces and nephews, I'll pay attention to how they're dressing, and I will ask myself when I see my little 5-year-old niece, would my nephew when he was 5 wear that clothes? And if the answer is no, then there's still gender conformity.
Well, I don't know that your nieces and nephews are this representation of the whole. Because
They're
very insulated,
But they're little kids. They're average kids.
but they're significantly more insulated from the progress of society than kids in public school.
Maybe they're better off from that. Maybe they're better off without their parents holding them up as the vanguard of some fucking change. Maybe they're better off as children that can be allowed to just be kids and make the decision when they get old enough what they are and who they want to be.
But I don't know that they're going to have the same opportunity to make those decisions that they would in other families.
So is that what it is then? So they put the little boy in the dress to give him opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you missed my point. I'm just saying that they're not the best representation because they're so insulated.
Maybe they shouldn't have the opportunity. Maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe children aren't old enough to have the opportunity to decide these things. Just like a kid can't decide to take a trip on its own. Just like a kid can't decide to go work a job. Maybe a kid shouldn't have the opportunity to decide to be a gender nonconformist until they're old enough to know what that means.
Or, as you said, diagnosed.
Diagnosed. Yeah. You go to a psychological
But there's
profiling
that
thing.
non-binary space. I think you agree that non-binary people exist. That's not diagnosable the same way that
Non-binary is a different. I will have the conversation about non-binary. I don't understand it, and I think that people that are non-binary are confused, and I think that they eventually will settle in.
You've met someone that's younger that's non-binary, and do you think they're confused?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought at the same time that you thought it was brave that they were being.
It is brave. Confusion isn't bad. The person that you're talking about is of the age where I would expect they would start to ask these questions about themselves if those questions exist within them. They're at the age where I would expect them to start individuating their sexuality and their sexual expression.
Kids mature at different rates.
It's true, but I don't think that 8-year-old was hyper mature. We saw him running around, jumping on the fucking tables, goo goo gagaing, right? I don't think we were looking at a particularly mature child. Maybe I'm wrong. Looked like a pretty average 8-year-old kid to me. In a dress. That's all I'm saying. Social norms and bullies shouldn't dictate how a kid wants to dress. I disagree. When you're a parent and you understand that people are nasty in the world, it's a parent's job to protect their child. Do you agree or disagree? Nobody's going to protect a child unless if you're relying on society to protect a child, you're losing, right? So the onus is on the parent to protect the child the best they can until that child is old enough to understand what is and what isn't. 8 is not old enough to understand what is and what isn't, unless you're trans. If you were born with your brain wired a different way, and you go through the psychological process and find out you're trans, that's not a little boy in a dress. That's a little girl in a dress. Got it? But a little boy wearing a dress because dad wears a dress is not the same fucking thing. Mom and dad purchasing a little sundress for a little boy is not the same thing. That little boy doesn't know what that means. That little boy can't. And I don't care how hard you try and explain to a little boy, people are mean. That's not going to blunt the edge. Eight is great. No, I'm not talking about sex ed. Yeah, basic sex ed, fine. And you can even explain the concept to them. That's fine. Right? I'm just saying, you want to explore that? When you're older, explore away. But I want you to have the best chance to know what you are. And I'm not going to put you in a position where you're going to get made fun of and fucked on until you're old enough to understand what that means. Because I'm your parent. So when I go clothes shopping for you, I'm going to pick out things for you that I think are going to let you be a kid and not have to worry about gender and sex until you're older. I'm going to get you clothes that let you be a kid. And when you're old enough, 13, 14, and you start feeling like, man, I really don't want to conform gender-wise, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about getting you some clothes that don't conform as much. But until then, friend, you wear what I give you, and if you don't like it, suck it up. Right? Or wrong? See? Gotta kill the last of our travel Gatorade.
Yeah.
I went in there to get a soda, and then I popped it open, and I was like, oh, a Gatorade? Man, y'all think I get burned in this community if I made a Palsy goes dead wrong about gender expression in kids video. No, I want to be dead wrong. I want somebody to like dissuade my concern. I do, because I'm not coming at this from a we got to stop this shit. We got to stop it now. I'm coming at this from like, how do we counter the social narrative here? If we're all kind of agreeing that it would be better off if that little boy was in a pair of pants and a hoodie. We're all kind of agreeing about that that little boy would be better off if he was able to grow up and kind of let his testicles drop and get sexually mature enough to make those sorts of decisions about how they want to be. He'd probably be better off. And we all agreed in principle on that, right? And he sent a super, I'm sorry about that, Otello. Let me scroll back. When did you send it?
This is like the third time Otello's brought up that he sent a super chat.
Oh, fuck, it's way back? Fuck me. I'm a shitter. I'm scrolling. There it is. The best counter you're going to get is that the conservative is the cause of the suffering, not the parent who put their son in a dress. Okay. Well, sure. But that doesn't change, right? You as a parent have the sole power to anneal your child against that type of shit. You're the only person that could do it. Even in theory, you're the only person. Wouldn't the onus be on us to change the attitudes of conservatives? Yes. I'm asking how we do that. How do we do that if we all agree that it's probably not a good thing that that little kid was put in a dress? That it's probably going to be a hard life for him, and that it's probably likely he's not trans, right? Which is where we're making that assumption that we're not a trans child dealing with here. We're dealing with a little boy whose mom and dad bought him a dress and put him in it. And I think we all agreed. It seems like we're walking back the agreement now. But earlier, if you guys remember, we could wind it back. We all agreed that that child would probably have an easier go of it if mom and dad didn't put him in a dress. So how do we counter this conservative narrative? Keep showing nonconformity isn't a bad thing. So hold your child up as a social shield. So societal change at the expense of your child's mental well-being. Got it. Cool. I don't know how you're going to sell that to conservatives. I don't think that's really going to assuage their concerns, but okay. If that's what we're going to do, I can't make the argument tagging on the assumption that the kid isn't trans. The assumption that the kid isn't trans isn't based on fluff. It's based on statistics. Once again, we all did that thing earlier, right? You got your life savings, double or nothing. Kid is trans, kid is cis. Everybody said cis. So let's be real. That's where the assumption comes from. Got it? Because we all know that trans people are rare, right? We get it? So I'm just reminding you of where we have agreed. We've agreed that little boy's going to have a hard time of it because mom and dad put him in a dress. We've agreed that little boy, statistically speaking, is not trans. So if that's the case, how do we counter the conservative narrative that those parents shouldn't be using that child as a social bludgeon? They should allow that child to make the choice of how they want to express their gender once they reach the age where that sort of thing starts to individuate.
Well, conservatives don't even understand the difference between gender nonconforming and trans. They just don't.
Right. And I think the waters are muddied for them when they see a little boy in a dress. That's what I'm saying. I think one of the reasons conservatives don't understand the difference between gender nonconformity and transness is because they see big man in a dress dressing his little boy in a dress. And they don't see how that means trans, because it doesn't. Right? Just because a kid wears a dress at home. The kid wasn't in a dress at home. The kid was in a dress in public. I was eating a hamburger at a public hamburger joint, and a little boy in a dress was there. So we need to get on the same page. We need to get on the same page. This wasn't a little boy playing around at home. This was a little boy in a frilly frock, pink sundress, running around a restaurant, okay? In public. Not in private, not just playing around, playing dress up with his sisters or whatever. This was a little boy whose parents put him in a dress and took him out. You don't even know these people. How do you know it's a boy? I don't. You're absolutely right. It could have been a little girl. At 8 years old, when somebody's in a dress, it's hard to tell. But I do think it's possible to look and go, oh, there's a little boy, there's a little girl. There is different fucking physiognomy between little boys and little girls. And once again, my life savings on the line, little boy, little girl, I'm putting it on little boy. And I'm going to win it. I'm going to double up. Let's just put it that way. Teach the kid to fight? Yeah, I know. Here, put this dress on and let me teach you how to beat people's asses, because you're going to get fucked on for your whole life. Because we've got to push gender nonconformity with our children, not ourselves. It's not enough gender nonconformity that I'm a 600-pound bearded lady. My child needs to be too. And then conservatives go, why are you putting your child in a fucking dress? And everybody goes, fuck you. And, you know, I'm trying to see, can we get to an argument that maybe we could reach conservatives with? And I don't hear any. In fact, I don't even hear an argument that assuages my concerns about it. Kids don't choose, Phoebes. We just talked about it. There's no way a little boy can choose to wear a dress, because little boys can't afford to purchase dresses. That little boy's choice was made for him when mom and dad bought him a dress and allowed him to wear it into public. Child doesn't choose. Child is told. That's psychology, by the way, right? The reason you tell a child, don't go by the river, there's crocodiles, because you don't want your child to get eaten. If you just plop your child down and don't teach them anything, they'll be crocodile bait. You get it? Children don't make choices. Children are given choices. You get it? You may choose. Do you want corn dogs or do you want nuggies tonight? You may choose. They don't get to choose, well, I don't want either of those. I want filet mignon. Because they're children. You get it? Are we starting to get to the point here? Because I'm starting to get tired of repeating myself. I don't think we're gonna reach a fucking consensus here, but I didn't think we would. Insert conformity. Little boys dressing like little boys is not conservative BS. Let's stop. It is not rank conservatism to put a little boy in a hoodie. Let's stop. Let's not get real. It's not like what makes you a leftist is dressing your children in cross-dressing. Let's not go down that fucking road, please. Let's not be stupid. Men dressing like men and women dressing like women traditionally is not conservative. It's just how people dress. How do kids make choices on what toys they play with, what games they play, and the like? How did the kid get the toy? How did the kid get the game? Answer.
Well,
Mom and dad bought it.
Well, they could be getting it from their friends. You got stuff from your friends.
Who bought the thing from their friends?
So
who's supposed to be watching what the kid is playing with? Mom and dad, right? That kid didn't purchase that toy. If it was given to him by a friend and you catch him playing with it and he's not supposed to play with things like that, you punish the kid. That kid didn't make a choice. Kids can't make choices. Kids are given opportunity. Bro, want or choose doesn't mean bought. How would that kid dress in a dress if mom and dad didn't buy him a dress? How would that kid be out in public at the burger shop in a dress if mom and dad didn't buy him one? I'll wait. You won't answer, but I'll wait. In fact, I'm going with you. Envy. It's on you. Eye of Sauron. How does that kid get a dress without mom and dad buying the dress and putting him in it? He said, "Hey, mom, I like this dress. Can you buy it?" That's what I assume. And mom did. Right? So kid didn't choose to go in a dress. Mom facilitated. Right? We agree? We agree that children don't have jobs or credit cards or any of the things that adults have that allow them autonomous self-expression, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, let's not act like every time a kid says, "Hey, mommy, I want to," parents should say, "Okay." "Hey, mommy, I want to put a gun in my mouth." "Okay." "Hey, mommy, I want to put my face on the hot stove." "Okay." Let's not act like kids make choices. Kids are told and directed what to do. That little boy was told and directed to wear a fucking dress into public. Comparing a dress to a gun? I'm just comparing. I'm just giving you examples of why parents don't allow children to do what they want, because they're not autonomous. You allow a child to do what you want, you'll have a dead child within a week. You'll have a drowned kid. You'll have a kid with a fucking who's fried with a fork in the fucking socket.
But you have to let kids make some mistakes.
Yeah.
Otherwise they don't learn.
You do.
Like,
So it was a mistake for the boy to be in a dress?
well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, you can't protect them from every little
You can
thing.
protect them from wearing a dress.
So my mom didn't protect me from wearing a stupid outfit. I put together clothes I already had and put together a stupid outfit.
But she bought you the stupid outfit.
No, she didn't buy it to be worn that way. She let me put on a stupid outfit and go to school and look stupid.
Okay.
Do you think she shouldn't have allowed me to do that?
Were you fucked on for it?
Not extremely, but...
Then fine.
But
You probably weren't dressed weird enough for her to be concerned. But if you had put on nipple tassels and a G-string, she probably would have been, "Hey, honey,
well, now
put on something."
Now your metaphor's getting mixed.
Well, I'm just saying, where we draw the line. If a little kid wants to go in a backward shirt and a pair of panties to school, do you go, "Okay, figure it out"? No. You go, put on your fucking clothes. You're not going to school like that. For some reason, a little boy in a dress doesn't have that same.
You're saying you never picked clothes that got you fucked on?
No. I don't know. My parents bought me little boy clothes. I was dressed just like the little boys at school. I had t-shirts, I had hoodies.
You didn't
little
get
pants.
made fun of for having different shoes or nothing, or not having the best brands.
No.
Like, kids get fucked on. Like,
I get
at least
it,
when I was a kid, that, like, they got fucked on for not having Abercrombie and Fitch. Does that mean that parents need to go get them Abercrombie and Fitch to protect them?
No, but that's also not a little boy in a dress. Right? He's not getting fucked on because he's not wearing Abercrombie. He's getting fucked on because he's wearing girl clothes. You know, some parents can't afford Abercrombie. Nothing you can do about that. Those parents could afford a dress for their boy.
I think you're right that you're just not going to be convinced.
Probably not. And to be honest with you, it's probably just because I'm old. It's probably just because I'm from another time where this type of shit wasn't normal, wasn't societally okay. And I have way too much fucking empathy for children because I know that they're just complete little grubs that can't do anything without mom and dad. And so when I see a big fat gender non-conforming dad with a little boy in a dress, I think, what the fuck is going on here? There's no way that little boy would be in a dress if dad wasn't a 600-pound bearded woman. And what does that mean for the child? And how do I counter conservatives that hand-wring over this when I can't even say that it's a good thing for them to put a little boy in a dress? Right? I just don't get it. I don't hold men to patriarchal societal norms. I think men can dress however they want. I think if you're a grown ass man, you want to put on a dress, go out and do it, player. Go do it, because you know what that means. You know your sexuality, you know your gender, and you know what the consequences of dressing in drag and going out in public are going to be. An 8-year-old doesn't know those consequences. An 8-year-old doesn't have a sexual life or sexual identity. An 8-year-old is a grub that is absorbing everything their parents say and do. And when you've got a man in a dress, you're going to have a little boy in a dress. And I'm asking, how do we counter that conservative argument? That's it. There's no counter argument. Okay. That makes it a little hard, doesn't it? Makes it a little hard to push society forward when we can't make a counter argument to the main conservative concern about little boys in dresses. Right? That's fine. It's fine if that's where we've arrived, that there's literally nothing that can be said to counter this argument. That's fine. But I don't know where that leaves us. Gender nonconformity and sexuality are linked. They're not the same thing, but they are linked. They are linked. 110% linked. Why do you need to pay them any deference? I'm not. I'm asking, is there a way to counter this argument? That little boys are better off dressing like little boys until they can decide how they want to dress. And I think we've all agreed, kids don't decide, kids are given opportunity. Nuggies or tots. Nuggies or corn dogs for dinner tonight. That's not the child having autonomy. That's a child being given a limited scope of choices. Right? So we agree little boy in a dress didn't have autonomy. We agree little boy in a dress could not cop that dress by himself. We agree little boy in the dress was put in that dress. Right? We agree on all these things. What we don't agree on is whether or not there is an argument that doesn't involve invoking race or religion and going so far afield that we're not even talking gender anymore. Is there an argument that we could give a conservative person that'll give them pause? And the answer that we've come to is no. 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 Now the question becomes, do we admit, right, that they're correct, that that little boy probably shouldn't have been in a dress? You guys seem to think, no, we don't admit that. We don't give them that. I think maybe we do. I think maybe we do make that argument. I think we do own that and move forward and try and figure this out a little better. So I don't think putting an 8-year-old in a dress is the way forward. I don't think using your child as a human shield against society's fucking slings and arrows is the way forward. But maybe I'm wrong. Kids don't make choices. Kids do not make choices. You are their parent, and those choices are overseen by you. If a child chooses to do something outside of your purview that gets them in trouble, what do you do, Phoebes? So let's say your kid is 6, goes to school and pulls some little girl's hair. What are you going to say to him? Are you going to say to him, good choice. You can make any choice you want about pulling people's hair at school. Or are you going to say, hey, little man or little girl, you understand you're not allowed. Next time you do it, there's going to be big consequences for you, little girl, little man, right? That's what you do. Still don't get how kids can't choose because they don't have money. If they got money from chores or being a mail boy, okay, you give your kid $10 because they mowed the lawn. That kid goes, take me to the store to get a dress. You say no. How did that kid have a choice? That kid can't even spend that $10 unless you load them up in their car seat and take them somewhere to spend it. And they wouldn't have the $10 if you didn't work for it and give it to them. So where's the choice? Explain to me where the choice is. Nuggies or fucking corn dogs for dinner? Where's the choice? Kid didn't get a choice. You gave them 2 options and they chose it. Right? But you gave them the option. So this family gave their child the option to purchase and wear a dress in public. This is not complex, but I feel like it's just like pulling teeth. Oh, it's like pulling teeth. I feel like we make progress and then we rewind it. We make progress. We all agreed 10 minutes ago is a bad thing. Now it's like, well, what's fucking so wrong with it? We all agreed 10 minutes ago children don't make choices. Now it's like, well, I do. Maybe they do. Maybe a child does have autonomy. I don't know. It's like, I feel like we're just one step forward, two steps back. We come together because opposites attract, and you know it's purely fiction. That's a natural fact. We come together because it's just. Whew, I feel like we come to this agreement and then we start moving forward with the conversation, and then when the conversation doesn't go the way that people that disagree me want it to go, we're back. We're back again now. We're back again now to children can make choices. Okay, let's go through it again. How does a child get clothes? We're going to do it. How does a child get clothes? Anywhere in the world, how does a child get clothes? Let's walk through it logically so we can at least move past this. How does a child get clothes? Please. Please, how does a child get clothes? This is really fucking annoying that you guys pretend that you can't answer this. Not typically, 100% of the time. The parents or other people in the family buy them. Okay? You want to take your kids to get clothes. You take them where? To a store. That store has what? A limited selection of clothes. You do what with the child? Pick something out. Brings you a dress. No. You see? Brings you a pair of $150 Air Force Ones. No, we can't afford that. Put it back. You get it? Do you get it? How does a child get video game preferences? Mom and dad buy them a video game. What if you say yes? Then you've also proven that the child didn't have a choice. They didn't just walk up and pull out their wallet and buy the dress. They came to you and did what? What did the child come to you and do? Please answer me. We're walking logically. So they don't have a choice because you can say, nope, right? When they're old and they've got $50 in their pocket, you can't say nope. Nobody gets to say nope. They can walk right in and buy a pair of panties, a bra, and a fucking dress, and nobody's going to tell them different. Get it? So they don't have choices, right? They don't have choices, right? Mom and dad decide the scope of their life until they're old enough to decide the scope of their life, right? Yes, please just say yes. Please just say that we've reached that point. Kids don't have choice. Mom and dad decide the scope of their life until they're old enough to do it. Please just say yes. Thank you. Oh, fucking God. Fuck me. Oh, my God. Not to an extent. Entirely. Get a 6-year-old, put them out in my yard. Nobody can interact with them. What are they going to do? Nobody's allowed to interact with them. They're autonomous. And now it's a matter of degrees. It's a little more limited. Little doesn't matter. It's limited in a way that it would in your pocket as an autonomous adult. I want to hear you, or I'm going to call this. Because now it's starting to get pedant when people become pedants in a conversation. Children don't have choice. Their choices are based on what you give them entirely. Nuggies or tots. There's no third way. Right? If they had $50 in their pockets, it wouldn't be nuggies or tots because mom said so. It would be whatever the fuck they wanted with their $50. Right? Please say yes. Please say yes. Because if we can't even get to this point, we're done. Because now it's pedantry. Now we're getting to pedantics. I want to hear yes. I don't want to hear any more arguments about this from you, Phoebes, till you say yes. Nuggies or tots. Nuggies or tots. No third way about it. No choice. I want to hear you say yes, or we can't move forward with this because it's just going to be endless looping pedantry. We've gone back now. We all agreed on this 20 minutes ago. All right. You're not going to agree to something you don't agree to, so you think children have autonomy. Well, then we're completely incompatible in this conversation. You think children have $50 in their pocket and they get what they want. Sorry, that's just not the way it works. Right, they don't have autonomy. Limited choice means no autonomy. That's it. It's actually a choice, Paul. Oh my God. How about this? Do you want to get shot in the head or strangled? Do you want to get shot in the head or strangled? Am I giving you a choice? Preference is not choice. Limited choice, you making the choice for them, yes. They're either having nuggies or tots. You get it? You made the choice, right? You made the choice, right? They didn't go like, I want either nuggies or tots. You looked in the freezer and you saw you had nuggies and tots. Which one do you want? Right? So they didn't have a choice. You gave them an option and allowed them to choose. But they would have, if that child was naked and alone in the woods out here, what choice would they have had? What choice? Would it have been nuggie or tots naked in the woods alone with no parents? No, it wouldn't have been, right? It would have been sit and starve and die. No choice, right? Right? Your yeses out of some of you contentious motherfuckers quick. Because the fact that we can't even arrive at this basic precept because it doesn't fit your narrative is really starting to get under my skin. And this is the type of shit, right, that conservatives pick apart. When you have this conversation with an actual conservative that wants to legislate this shit away, you come at them like this, you're not changing any minds. You're not making any good arguments. You think by like holding up, digging your heels in and saying that children have choice is going to win this argument when clearly they don't? Nuggies or tots. Nuggies or tots. Who provided that? It was mom, right? So they didn't have a choice. Kid, if they had a choice, kid could go, filet mignon and Brussels sprouts, please. Well, coming right up. You've got choice. Right? Can't even get a yes. Can't even get a yes. 100% can't even get a yes on that basic precept. Children have nothing that their parents don't give them. Can't even agree on that because it doesn't fit the narrative. Sometimes adults can't choose that. It's class dependent. They choose based on what they can do. No, adults do choose that. Adults do provide that choice. Adults always provide that choice. You got $5 in your pocket and that's all you got to feed your family. They're getting what you get, right? They're eating beans for the next week, right? The kids don't go, I want McDonald's, and you go spend your life savings on it, right? I hate when people won't fucking Q&A me, bro. I hate it. It drives me fucking nuts, especially when it's just pedantry going on. You know saying yes undermines your argument, so you won't do it. Even though you know it's true, pedantry is keeping you from just saying, yep, Paul, you're right. Children don't make choices. You're right. Parents provide options. You're right, Paul. Can't even say it because it undermines the furtherance of this argument. So now we're back at the beginning again for the fourth time. We've looped again. Yeah, exactly. This is free will versus authority, right? You have no free will as a child. You dress how you're told to dress. You eat what you're told to eat. You go to bed when you're told to go to bed. You go to school when you're told, right? You go play with your friends when you're told. You play the video game when you're told you can, right? You get a video game by asking mom and dad for it, right? All of these things, the answer should be, yep, Paul, you're right. But watch. Phoebe is about to type a fucking paragraph. Wait for it. Yes, Paul, you're right is all she has to say. Yes, Paul, you're right. Children can't take care of themselves. Yes, Paul, you're right. Children can't. Children have no autonomy, Paul. You're right. They have nothing but what their parents provide for them. Paul, you're right. She won't say that, though. It'll be another fucking paragraph trying to obfuscate this point. And this is pedantry. And this is why you guys have a hard time making good arguments to conservatives. Because it just falls the fuck apart. Right, Ghoul? I want this, Mommy. No. I want that, Mommy. No. Can you get me this? Can we get an ice cream? No. Mommy, I want this toy. Sorry, you got to wait till Christmas. Ask Santa for it. Right? Just so fucking annoying, bro. Looping really is a fucking problem with these kind of like internet arguments. It's like we reach a point, we've come, like, okay, yeah, it's probably like this kid is definitely going to be worse off because mom and dad put him in a dress. We agree. Then we move forward a little bit, building on that. Now we disagree on it again. Okay, yeah. Children, you're right. Mom and dad do provide all of the things for children. So children really don't have a choice. It's mom and dad's choice. Now let's move forward one step. No. Now we disagree on that again. It's called looping. It's called looping. Diagnoses aren't allowed in here. Somebody get Dylan's chilling up out. I don't let people fling diagnoses around. So get Dylan's chilling out. In fact, anybody that's not participating in the conversation, we're talking like peanut gallery people, shh. This is not the place to attention seek. No one agrees the kid is going to be worse in a dress. Yeah, there you go. Too many caps. Talk like an adult. We all agreed earlier that the kid is going to have a harder life because his parents put him in a dress. We all agreed on that. Now we're disagreeing on it because it doesn't fit the narrative. Because as we built towards an end goal here, the narrative started to get fuzzy because I asked the wrong questions. I asked questions you didn't want to answer. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it, Phoebes. I want a yes or no out of you. Does your child have a choice? Yes or no? If you say no, we can move forward. If you say yes, we're done. That's it. Plenty of people agreed. Plenty of people have agreed to this. We can't keep going forward, Phoebes. You don't understand the difference between autonomy and limited choice. Nuggies or tots is not autonomy. I'm taking you to the store to buy you clothes is not autonomy. Get ready for school and pack your backpack up because I'm taking you into school is not autonomy. You think it is. Sorry. We can't keep going. We're at an impasse. So I'll talk to other people now. I knew the paragraph would miss the point. I knew the paragraph wouldn't be answering a simple question. It would be trying to obfuscate and pedantry my way through this argument. And I'm not going to let you do it because a conservative's not going to let you do it. You're having this conversation with a conservative, they're not going to let you weasel your way. Are you kidding me? Why are we having to weasel on this? That should be a question. Why are we as leftists having to be weaselly on this? Why are we looping? Why are we acting like this isn't happening? Why are we looping, guys? Why did we agree 20 minutes ago that that kid was going to have a harder life because he's in a dress and now we can't agree on it anymore? Why did we agree 20 minutes ago that children don't have fucking autonomy and now we don't agree on it anymore? Now children have autonomy? Since when? You get it? Bullying is not the primary issue. Bullying is one of the issues. One issue. Well, I disagree with that, Pranab. I think it should come into consideration what people think about what your child wears, because you want your child to not have a bad fucking time in life. You want your child to get through school, right? Every parent doesn't want their child to be fucked on in school, right? You don't want your kid to have a hard time,
Well,
right?
when are they allowed to individuate and make, like, I want this?
Puberty.
Okay.
That's how I feel. When you're
Well,
talking about
what stage of
gender
puberty?
and sexuality,
What stage of puberty?
when they start to become pubescent, they start to make decisions about their sexuality and their gender. That's how I feel. And before that, it's mom and dad's job to take care of them. Once they big fucking decisions and they get into their teenage years where complex ideas like gender can kind of be understood, then I start loosening my fucking control on a child and I let them start expressing themselves. I don't put an 8-year-old in a dress, an 8-year-old boy. I don't dress my 8-year-old boy like an 8-year-old girl until that 8-year-old boy is 12, 13, 14, puberty, has been out in school enough, has a peer group, and knows what it means. And then they can choose. And I'll support every fucking bit of the way. You want to be in a dress, you're 13, you feel that's how you want to present yourself, you're old enough to understand what's going to happen to you. I'll be here to support you. 8, he has no clue. He's a fucking grub. That's the point. My 8-year-old wore pink Dora the Explorer shirts, which is a girls' show. I don't think Dora is a girls' show. It's a kid's show. But whatever. You know, it's not a girl show just because the main character's
But
a
is the
girl.
pink not?
I wear
feminine?
pink.
Okay, but you agree that can you agree that it's not traditional and that a kid could be bullied for pink?
I mean, a kid could be bullied for anything.
Well, then why are we getting so tied up about they could be bullied for a dress when they could be bullied for any number of
Okay,
things?
so put your kid in clown. All right, what about now? What about now? Is we back or is we not? Come on, D. Come on, people. Whoa. Noise. It's not the Wi-Fi gods. It's totally fucking YouTube, bro. Totally YouTube doing this. Because my network here is fucking really good. I think it's possible to discuss things, create topics for further engagement on DFF Reddit or in the show itself. These things need to be discussed. I agree. I think this is an important discussion. It's a frustrating discussion for me because I feel like there's a lot of pedantry that goes into it. You think that kid is in danger? Sure. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know that kids can be exceptionally cruel and violent. So yeah, I do think that kid is in danger. I do. I do think that. the bigots are in danger too from me. Okay. Well, go out there and be dangerous. They're hard to discuss in this environment. I will give you that, Sarah. You guys are at a disadvantage here. I can speak extemporaneously, and you are all having to type with a limited number of characters and stuff. So you're absolutely right about that. It's a tough conversation because of that as well. And that is not on you, that's on the platform, right? I like to have something like this in a more personal setting. Sure. We could argue on Discord sometimes. Yeah, we could. We could do that. I mean, it sounds like Phoebes wants to have a whole thing with me, so maybe that'll work out a little better. Yeah, I get it. You know, I can't see every message, but I think I've done a pretty good job of fucking floating you guys as counterpoints here. I've done the best job I know how to do. Like, I can't read every message. Shit is flowing when I'm talking, and I can't read while I talk. So, you know, I think I'm doing okay. But anyway, I think I'm done for the day. I'm good and, like, angry now. I guess. Ugh, fuck. You guys are crazy making. People are fucking crazy making. Don't worry about it. Onion nuggets tonight. Coming up in about an hour and 15 minutes. Make sure you guys are there. It's always a good time. I'll check you guys out next time. Yep.